Good morning. Good morning. Is everybody warm?
Not yet. Still defrosting.
Okay, well, we'll try to heat things up in here. I would like to call the meeting of the Legislative Commission's Budget Subcommittee to order. Good morning to everyone here in the committee room and online as well, and in Las Vegas. I am Senator Dondero Loop, and I'll be chairing the meeting today. Will the committee secretary please call the roll?
Assemblywoman Anderson. Present. Assemblywoman Backus. Present. Assemblywoman Brown May. Here. Assemblywoman Dickman. Here. Assemblywoman Gorlow. Here. Assemblyman Hafen. Here. Assemblywoman Howdigi. Here. Assemblywoman Kazama. Here. Assemblyman Miller. Assemblyman O'Neill. Assemblyman
Here.
Assemblywoman Peters. Here. Assemblyman Watts.
Here.
Assemblyman Yeager.
Here.
Senator Canizaro.
Here.
Senator Gokachia.
Here.
Senator Harris.
Here.
Senator Neal. Here. Senator Nguyen.
Here.
Senator Severs-Gansert. Senator Titus.
Here.
Vice Chair Monroe-Monreno.
Here.
Chair Dondero Loop.
Here. Thank you very much. And before we move into today's agenda, I'd like to remind all committee members and the public to turn off or mute your electronic devices. For those who will be providing testimony today, remember to state your name for the record each time you are speaking. And if you have a business card, please leave it with the secretary. Let's move on to the next agenda item, which is public comment. This is the first period of public comment. There will be another public comment period at the end of today's meeting. Due to time considerations, each person is allowed 2 minutes. Please remember to state and spell your name and then begin your statement. To call in to provide testimony to the public comment period, dial 669-900-6833. When prompted, provide the meeting ID. Please enter 886-7342-3002 and then press pound. When prompted for the participant ID, just press pound. Thank you very much. This call information is also provided on the agenda. And I will begin with public comment here in Carson City. Is there anyone who would like to come forward? Anyone in Las Vegas? All right, we will go to the phone lines. BPS, when you're ready.
Good morning, Chair. The public line is open and working. However, there are no callers at this time.
All right, then we will move on to agenda item 3. And today we'll be hearing budget presentations from 3 departments: the Department of Tourism and Cultural Affairs, the Department of Business and Industry, and the Office of the Military. First, we will have Tourism and Cultural Affairs. And Director Scolari, please come forward and begin when you're ready.
Good morning, everybody. I'll have Director Montooth begin our presentation.
That's fine. Thank you and welcome, Director Montooth. We're getting it all together here.
I'm Stacy Montooth. I am a citizen of the great state of Nevada as well as the Walker River Paiute Nation. I'm here today because I'm the Executive Director of the Nevada Indian Commission, and in the next few minutes I'd like to share 11 slides with you to talk about what the Nevada Indian Commission does, what our challenges are, and why we need just a couple of enhancements. What we do. So the Nevada Indian Commission was created in 1965. We're over 50 years strong. The goal of our agency is to improve the quality of life for the 28 tribal nations, bands, colonies that now are in what we call Nevada. We also serve 62,000 self-identified Native American Indians. Those are tribal citizens who do not live on their reservation lands, but choose to live in urban areas. We are the conduit between the governor's office and those 28 tribal nations. Again, our objective is to improve the quality of life. If you ask 10 different people what that means, you're going to get 10 different answers. It's a very daunting, but a very rewarding and a very, very needed goal. Here's the nitty-gritty. So I've had the pleasure of serving the state of Nevada for nearly 3 years. Basically, we operate our agency powered by 5 people, and until the end of last year, we operate on about $600,000. That not only includes the administrative side of the Nevada Indian Commission, but it also includes the operation of the gem, the heart of the Stewart Indian School. We opened doors to our cultural center and museum just over 3 years ago, and we've already had over 10,000 visitors, and that has taken place despite COVID. It has taken place despite the fact that we just have 2 full-time staffers. We're open just 5 days a week and only 6 hours a day. So I'll let you review, again, the nitty-gritty, the specific numbers that include just a little bit of an uptick from our previous budgets. What really looks different in this pie chart took place just a couple months ago. I think I was sitting in this very seat when I had the opportunity to speak to some of your colleagues about a transfer of funds. The Nevada Indian Commission was successful in securing, $20 million from the governor's recovery funds, aka ARPA dollars. Our agency, again, with 2 administrators, plans to work with all of our tribal nations to divide that money up, and it will be used for our governments, our communities at their discretion. Our tribal nations have always had an issue with essential services. The pandemic absolutely emphasized that, and with that successful transfer, we're really going to be able to make a direct impact within 6 months. Here is the specifics for the Stewart Indian School Cultural Center and Museum. Again, this has got 2 full-time dedicated employees. We have a museum director as well as a full-time curator. We are staffed primarily to the public by volunteers. These are not just Native Americans, but often folks who attended the school during forced assimilation or their direct descendants. Why we need enhancements. So again, we have this lofty task of improving the quality of life for almost 80,000 constituents. We're doing it now with a staff of 5. One of our requests was to increase our staff by 1. We'd like to have an additional curator at our cultural center. Besides providing a platform for all Nevadans, in fact, we've had international guests who have come to our campus to learn the authentic story of boarding schools and the history of the first people of this land. We also provide a safe place for our alumni, and one of the aspects that's really taken on a lot of our time is the reception of what we call family heirlooms. We've been so well received. We have gifts. Families are donating their treasures, whether they're traditional baskets or beaded items. Recently, a large business in the Douglas County area closed. They donated their entire Great Basin basket collection to us. We need another staff member to properly receive these gifts, to take care of them. As you all know, these things have to be in an environmentally controlled area. They need to be secured. We want to share them with the public, and we just don't have the people power to do that yet. Also, again, mighty staff. We have 1 employee who absolutely deserves a promotion. We'd like to move our curator 2 to a curator 3. All told, that is about a little less than 80,000 in the enhancements that the Nevada Indian Commission is interested in asking for. We have the governor's office's support for that, and we're at the point now that we are transitioning with the new administration. We've had the pleasure of talking to them about some of the challenges. Just like I'm sure you've heard from other directors, employment is very challenging. I've been with the Nevada Indian Commission for 3 years. I did a little math. In the last 46 months, we've been without a full-time staff for 32 of those. So again, the promotion to maintain our staff to another position to broaden the breadth of our services would be hugely, hugely helpful. And finally, I did want to go back. The pie chart looks so different with that $20 million allocation from the American Rescue Plan, the governor's recovery funds. $20 million to an agency that, again, has operated with $60,000 for the past 3 years is beyond a windfall. This funding will be able to supplement projects that our tribal nations already have in place. We absolutely advocate and support the sovereignty of these nations, and they will decide where this funding under the purview of all the ARPA regulations would best be spent. In the short time that we've had the discussions about this funding, the Lovelock Paiute tribe has said they're going to be able to extend a townhouse project that they already have. The Reno Sparks Indian Colony wants to use it as part of their fundings for another formula grant that would install plumbing infrastructure for a subdivision they have. The Washoe Nation actually wants to use this money for a veterans assistance. So again, I want to emphasize that though that budget looks healthy, it's completely new to us, and that money will be gone within 6 months. I stand ready for any questions you might have.
Thank you very much for that information. I'll go to Assemblywoman Kasama.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for this overview, and it sounds like that influx of dollars was greatly needed. And so I know you mentioned a couple things, but is there an overall plan you could share with us for the $20 million? You mentioned a couple of projects. Do you see that being mainly used for capital projects? And how are you distributing it amongst the different nations? And
Those are great questions. When I had the opportunity to talk to your colleagues about this, I emphasized that this is going to be done with rigorous consultation with our 28 tribal nations. The Nevada Indian Commission has worked with a couple of different housing directors to come up with a 2-page application. I emphasize 2-page because we want this to be as easy. We don't want cumbersome paperwork. Again, each tribal nation, even though we all have, our connections to the land, all of our tribal nations are extremely different. They have extremely different needs, whether, they're in remote rural areas. The Yamba Nation, for example, it's between Austin and Gabbs. You can't get there without traveling on dirt roads, yet we have the Las Vegas Paiutes who have an acre in the heart of Las Vegas. It's completely different. So we will be working with each respective tribal nation to find out exactly what their greatest needs is, and that money will be divided and transferred directly to them once we get that written application. Of course, all of the projects have to meet the strict state guidelines as well as the federal guidelines for ARPA projects.
so in general, just to help me understand, in general, it's not really being used for ongoing operations. These would be more capital improvements, one-time projects, since you said they'll be allocated within 6 months or determined where they would be going.
Absolutely, you're exactly right. It's primarily infrastructure, and most of it is infrastructure that's already taking place.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Assemblywoman Peters.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So good to see you.
Thank you.
And thank you for the presentation. It's great to see your office diversifying a little bit of the work that is being done in Indian country. I work with tribal governments, and one of the issue areas that we see in Nevada in particular is match funding availability for grants. There is an enormous amount of money coming in from the federal government for infrastructure projects, for specifically tied to tribal lands and tribal governments. But the hurdle is these match dollars. Is your office helping with designing a way that the state can help support those match dollar requirements? Is there a way we could be doing that? I see these ARPA dollars as kind of an opportunity to take a look at the structure of your office and see if there's a grant function that could help offset some of those costs. I work in California with tribal governments, and that's one of the things California is really investing in right now, is helping to achieve that technical assistance for tribal governments so that they can access those funds. I want to give an example. The Department of Energy right now has an allocation funding. This is money that you have to supply just a grant application to, and then you receive it for whatever project you put out there. It is coming to every state and every tribal government in the country that's federally recognized. There are 27 in the state of Nevada that received these allocations. I know of one, Walker River, who's applying for it. And when I speak to folks about what the biggest issue is, the hurdle, there's a 100% match requirement for infrastructure. And these are not huge grants in some cases, $100,000 a year for 2 years. It's not huge. So there are barriers, right? And I really see your office as being one of those places where the state can start helping overcome some of those barriers. So I'm wondering if you're working towards that, given this ARPA opportunity, or if there are ways we can support you in doing that.
I appreciate all of that feedback, and you're absolutely right.
Ms. Montooth, I don't mean to interrupt, but would you please state your name before you speak? Thank you.
Absolutely. For the record, Stacy Montooth, the Nevada Indian Commission. Thank you, Madam Chair, for that reminder. This is actually my first time in a pre-budget hearing, so I apologize. You're absolutely right. It seems incredulous that there can be a historic amount of federal funding and not too long ago state funding, but our tribal nations miss out because they don't have the technical assistance, the technical expertise. Specifically, they don't have grant writers who can fill out the application. Again, I underscored the application for the $20 million that the state of Nevada has generously shared with our tribal nations. It's going to be a 2-page application. So if needed, the chair or the tribal manager, the city manager can take care of that. You're absolutely right that matching funds are a huge hurdle. We're absolutely aware of that problem. Unfortunately, right now, we don't have the expertise, even within the Nevada Indian Commission, to provide that technical assistance. However, we've reached out. We just had a meeting with the Grant Lab. They've offered, you all probably know, they're run with philanthropy dollars. So they've offered to assist us with a huge grant for health and human services. So we're working on a model. We're not there yet, but we certainly are striving towards that. Thank you for the question.
Thank you very much. Assemblywoman Anderson.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Director Montooth. Listening to this, and it kind of goes a little bit back to what you were just bringing up, the staffing issue. You're already on a skeleton staff. Is there any sort of consideration of using a small amount of these funds to help you look through this information, or are you going to continue to use the same staff? Is there any sort of discussion around the staffing, because you guys are already on a skeleton crew, and then adding this on, can the staff handle this, or are you looking at hiring more?
We've considered both approaches. Again, our charge is to improve the quality of life for our tribal nations. If today we divided that 20 million, each tribe would get about $714,000. For some, that probably isn't even going to add to, their general fund by 1%. But for others, that's going to help them meet their payroll. I would like, in my heart, I would like to take this on myself in order to be able to save money, to be able to distribute every single dollar that we can to our tribal nations. For efficiency, for transparency, we absolutely are considering hiring, contracting with someone who is an expert in this kind of administrative work.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Director.
Thank you very much. Senator Neal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, I guess I have two questions. I want to start off with the first one. So, kind of piggybacking on the grant conversation, do you guys have an ability to work with the grants office that we created in the state of Nevada?
Stacy Montooth, Nevada Indian Commission, for the record. Thank you for that question. Some of the information that Assemblywoman Peters described made me think of the Grid Resiliency Program. That's a grant formula, and she's absolutely right. 27 of our tribal nations were awarded federal dollars from $65,000 up to about $300,000, and we are working with. My apologies, I know they have a new name, but the Governor's Grants Office to provide technical assistance and do additional research on what exactly grid resiliency is.
Okay. Thank you for that. So my second question is related to, I guess, any other, I know you got ARPA funding, but was there any other pandemic funding that tribes received that maybe is falling under, we have a removal of some pandemic funds? Do you know?
Stacy Montooth, Nevada Indian Commission, for the record. I think I know where you're going. Please direct me if I'm
Yeah, because I
wrong.
didn't finish it because I'm trying to figure out how to say it not in a hurtful way.
No.
Anyway, let me just ask it straight out, just to be me. All right. So pandemic funds were pretty
Yes.
much removed. So is there any negative effect that's going to happen to tribes who may have been under a pandemic order, and now those funds are now not going to be used for certain things that you need? Is that a better question?
Let me try. So our tribal nations were on the receiving end of federal ARPA and CARES Act funding. Just like the states, just like the counties, they got funding directly. There was litigation that postponed them getting that money directly to their people. And then, just as I described, the application part, the administration of ARPA funds is extremely challenging for our tribal nations because they don't have the same people power as maybe the city of Ely or the county of Lander. The money that the $20 million that the Nevada Indian Commission was able to secure from the state will also fall under the same project requirements, but the application is extraordinarily much less labor intensive. I don't believe that there could be any negative fallout from that opportunity or that procedure. Am I answering your question?
Kind of. But I will leave it there because I'm trying to see if you got any other pandemic relief funds outside of the state. Did any tribes apply for any of the pandemic money, 2020, 21, 22? Because there were several funds, right? There was infrastructure, there was health, there was transit, there were several things, right? And even just recent legislation that came out of Biden, you know, it included tribes. And so what I think I know is that you don't have the technical assistance to apply for these funds, is what I might as well just answer my own question and leave it there.
Yeah. Stacy Montooth, for the record, you're absolutely right that the issue with the cumbersome applications, the administration, that is typically the case whether the funding is from Uncle Sam or the state of Nevada.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Senator Titus.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for your presentation. I'm encouraged. I think at least you understand what the hurdles are, and you understand what questions to ask. And half the time, the problem is you don't even know what questions to ask and what directions you go. I have multiple tribes in my district, and honored to serve them. I think it's an understatement when you say that the 28 tribal nations are all unique. I think it's they truly are. They truly do have different needs, different personalities, different energies. And it's the right thing, and so recognizing that is good. I want to go along the same line with Assemblywoman Peters about, and I think what people have asked and pointed out is that the lack of, I think, your personnel to even know what grants to apply for, how do you get that done, and leaving a lot of money on the table. My question, however, is prior to COVID and prior to the ARPA funds, do you have any idea how much money was already coming to these different tribal nations through, say, either the federal government or the Bureau of Indian Affairs, those kind of funds that they were already receiving? Do you have any ideas on the overall income or revenues of these different 28 tribes, or are they all in their own silos?
Stacy Montooth, Nevada Indian Commission, for the record. Absolutely not. I have no idea, as does, it's part of the sovereignty of each respective tribe. The God-given right to govern themselves as they see appropriate also includes public disclosure. Respectfully, your question is similar to asking me if I know what the general fund of, the state of, or the country of Ukraine is. That it's completely up to that governing body to disclose any amount of money that they either get through grants or they generate because they operate, the biggest cannabis plant on the biggest cannabis storefront on the planet, or whether it's just an automobile dealership at the end of South Virginia. All of that is completely private and within their leadership's discretion on whether they want to share.
So thank you for that, and I appreciate that answer, which then brings me to this. So when they apply for a grant and they use justification on the needs of that, how does that get vetted?
Again, Stacy Montooth, Nevada Indian Commission, for the record. So this funding comes with the requirements that it absolutely has to meet ARPA, the provisions of any project under the American Rescue Plan or any of the provisions of the Governor's Recovery Act.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Senator Gansert, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had a question first for fiscal staff. The ARPA dollars, is there a certain limit on administration costs for like the $20 million, can they use 10 or 15% to administer the funding? And if so, can that be used for the technical assistance that it seems like they need?
Wayne Thorley for the record, LCB Fiscal Analysis Division. Speaking specifically for the coronavirus state fiscal recovery funds and not other ARPA grants that are available through the American Rescue Plan Act. The coronavirus state fiscal recovery funds do not have I'm aware of a limit on what can be used for administrative costs. Other allocations through the American Rescue Plan Act do, though.
Thank you. And then what's the time frame? Is this the end of 24 where the dollars have to be spent?
Wayne Thorley again for the record. Yes, so the coronavirus state fiscal recovery funds, of which the $20 million that Ms. Montooth is talking about, has a obligation deadline of December 31st, 2024, and then an expenditure deadline of December 31st, 2026.
Thank you. That's very helpful. So hopefully you'll be able to hire the consultants or whoever you need to be able to make sure that you can respond to the requirements that surround that money. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional questions from the committee? Seeing none, I have one. When it comes to the tribes being able to apply for some of these grants, do they ever partner up or do some type of a small consortium, or are they strictly individual? They need to be individual, and I would understand that because they would be different tribes. But I was just wondering if they could ever, especially a much smaller tribe, be able to partner with someone who has more revenue and more personnel.
Fantastic question. Stacy Montooth, Nevada Indian Commission for the record. Thank you so much for that. You are absolutely right. Especially under the Biden administration, when it comes to scoring applications for grants, the more involvement you have from different constituencies, typically the stronger those grants are scored. I can give you an example. Just last summer, I was honored to visit a small business in downtown Reno. It is an IT business. Their specialty is broadband. The operators of that business completed a grant application for funding to be able to cover the entire county of Pershing with broadband. When I had the opportunity to talk to the business owner, he told me I got out the grant application, saw that I could score higher if I worked with a tribal nation, which the Lovelock Paiute Colony is in the heart of Lovelock. He said I got to score higher if I worked with a rural area that has a socioeconomic status of a little bit lower than the national average. That's Pershing County. So you're absolutely right. It's an approach, and it's been very successful for some of our tribes that have opportunities to partner with with colleges and universities, with not-for-profits, or with small businesses. So thank you for letting us discuss that and put that on the record.
Thank you very much. Any additional questions? I see Assemblywoman Dickman. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Director Montooth. Just to clarify, we keep talking about $20 million, but is it really 60? Because was there 20 and 23? An additional 24 and 25?
Stacy Montooth, Nevada Indian Commission for the record. I can see why that would be confusing. No, ma'am, it's a one-time $20 million allocation. The work program was done, again, the governor's recovery funds.
And they're just continuing it if it's not spent in 23.
Yes, ma'am. Stacy Montooth for the record. As our fiscal representative noted, those deadlines, it has to be expended by 25.
26, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, seeing no more questions, thank you so much for your presentation. It was full of great information, and we appreciate you being here today. Thank you very much.
Pisha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I believe maybe next is Nevada Arts Council. Go ahead when you're ready.
Oh, it's right here. Yes, it go. Yeah. I'll close this one. Yeah. Oh, shoot. Screen. Oh, is it in the, on the deck? I mean, on the stick? Yes. I think we can get it over here. Good morning. For the record, Tony Manfredi, Executive Director, Nevada Arts Council. Thank you, Chair Dundara Loop and committee members for your interest this morning and your commitment to serving our great state. I will briskly highlight the significant impact that arts, creativity, and heritage have on Nevada and how our state is supporting these impacts through our public purpose and critical need. Arts and creativity make us stronger as a state. They're the backbone of innovation, prosperity, and thriving people and places. Arts and creativity are a Nevada economic engine, strengthening our economic health by creating jobs in multiple industries, driving tourism, and equipping an innovative workforce. The data that you see here is from the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis. In 2019, arts and culture production contributed over $10.6 billion to Nevada and over 53,000 jobs. In 2020, these amounts dropped significantly due to the pandemic, but they are still remarkable. Over $8 billion and over 37,000 jobs. And Nevada employment by industry data from the Research Division of the Nevada Legislative Council Bureau shows arts, entertainment, and recreation at 24%, with over 340,000 jobs ranking at first in the state. The arts contribute significant money and significant jobs to our state. Arts and creativity improve Nevada's health and well-being. They're one of the most effective treatments for trauma, depression, and anxiety. Arts and creativity strengthen the fabric of our rural towns and big cities, celebrating local culture, promoting connection, and creating the kinds of communities where young people want to build families. And speaking of families, arts and creativity strengthen education. The arts are shown to close the achievement gap and improve test scores. They promote cognitive development and readiness to learn at every age and add the key ingredient of creativity to STEAM education. Now, how is the state investing in supporting arts and creativity? Well, a significant way is through the Nevada Arts Council. The Nevada Arts Council is celebrating 56 years as a state arts agency. Our NRS declares that the arts are vital, essential, important, and will continue to grow and play an ever-increasing part in the cultural and educational experiences of the residents of Nevada. The Nevada Arts Council is also the sole agency within the state who may receive and does receive federal funds from the National Endowment for the Arts. The Nevada Arts Council is one of 56 state and jurisdictional arts agencies whose purpose is to ensure that every community receives the cultural, civic, economic, and educational benefits of the arts. And we accomplish this work through our 6 program areas and 13 full-time staff. The Artist Services Program supports Nevada's growing population of artists in all disciplines and in all career stages with grants and professional development activities. This investment bolsters Nevada's creative workforce. The program area manages the Nevada Touring Exhibition Program, touring professionally created exhibits throughout the state. In our FY 2022 timeframe, over 33,000 people attended an NTI visual arts exhibit that was hosted by libraries, city halls, and museums in 14 Nevada counties. An example of our latest NTI exhibit, Meaning is Always Here, can be seen on display on the first floor of the Legislative Building here in Carson City. In 2021, our Artist Services team reimagined and reinstated Nevada's Poet Laureate program. The Nevada State Poet Laureate is a governor-appointed position to encourage literacy and learning throughout the state. You'll also see posters titled Nevadan to Nevadan sprinkled throughout the Nevada Legislative Building here. This is an ongoing poetry project from State Poet Laureate Gail Marie Pallmeyer, utilizing letter poems to encourage Nevadans to speak to one another through poetry about what it means to live in our beautiful and complicated state. And here's one of those submissions. Note from a Newbie by Stacy Smith, Pahrump, Nevada. Like many others, when I was new to the Nevada desert, I saw so little. Few trees, few buildings, few animals, few people. As I've come to love my home, I see so much. The burrowing owls bobbing their heads, the sturdy charcoal ovens resisting the sun and wind, the gray and blue mountains marking the way, and my hardy neighbors driving the long, straight roads. Arts Learning program was founded on the belief that arts have a crucial place in the lifelong learning process of all citizens. The Arts Learning program sponsors school and community artist residencies, offers grants for education projects, and facilitates statewide initiatives to enhance arts curriculum and teacher training. An example of a statewide initiative of the Arts Learning program is the new Nevada Creative Aging Initiative. In 2021, with funding from a private partnership in the Nevada Arts Council, the agency contracted to develop and implement an in-person and online creative aging training program for Nevada libraries and the Nevada Arts Council teaching artist roster. After completion of the training, the Nevada Arts Council offered $126,000 in grant funds to applicants for the training cohort, who then conducted creative aging programs throughout the state. The training totaled 522 hours of instruction. The program engaged with over 642 participants and provided an additional 120 hours of creative aging programming to older adults in 86 locations within 14 Nevada counties. Here's a quote from participant Julie Lozado Ocampo. In the words of one of our workshop participants, it's such a joy to focus on something of value and pleasure. While learning a new instrument and lifetime art is important and has its own merits, the social interaction and connection that occurred with older adults in our workshop cannot be overlooked. One of our participants' kids and their grandbaby drove 5 hours to see the culminating event. 2 of our ladies in the class would tell their friend, who was on hospice, all about what they learned when they would go and see her after each lesson. Their friend passed away the week before the culminating event, and at our participants' request, we dedicated the final concert to her memory. The Community Arts Development Program helps maintain and promote the arts in Nevada through community action planning, grants, and technical assistance. The program works primarily with the state's nonprofit arts organizations, local arts agencies, and municipalities to develop a statewide creative network. An example of a statewide initiative is the Basin to Range Exchange Program, an in-person gathering focused on community conversations through the arts. I'm excited to announce that the registration for the 2023 Basin to Range Exchange Program has opened, and we'll be convening in person with arts leaders from across the state on April 17th through 19th in Ely, Nevada. Nevada is rich with traditions and cultures born from deep native and ranching histories, coupled with those of our contemporary immigrant communities. Working with a range of artists, groups, and grant offerings, the Folklife program documents Nevada's diverse cultural heritage to share with the public through exhibitions, projects, school programs, and workshops. Other initiatives currently in development include the curation of the Rural Cultural Landscape exhibit on Nevada ranching, a Native American initiative, and a Latino and African diaspora initiative. A wide range of constituent services that include public awareness campaigns, projects that promote Nevada's arts and creative industry, and special initiatives such as the biannual statewide arts conference are all coordinated through the Public Awareness and Arts Initiative program. The Nevada Arts Council is the primary source of public funding for Nevada's creative industry, schools, and communities. The grants program invests federal and state dollars in projects that increase Nevadans' access to cultural experiences and arts education and learning opportunities. Grants are awarded through a professional panel review process that measures quality of the product, planning, and evaluation. And here are some grantees that many of you may know. Art Town, the Nevada Museum of Art, and the Holland Project in Reno, Brewery Arts Center in Carson City, St. Mary's Arts Center in Virginia City, Churchill Arts Council in Fallon, Western Folklife Center in Elko.
Sorry, I just skipped your slide.
That's all right.
I think it's, no. I'm wrong. I'll come back to you.
Okay. No worries. The Western Folklife Center in Elko, the Goldwell Open Air Museum in Beatty, the Neon Museum, Smith Center and Ballet Folklorico in Vegas, the Sin City Opera in Henderson, and the Virgin Valley Artist Association in Mesquite, and that's a very, very small few. The public investment in these dollars extends far beyond the actual cash value. In our 2020 through timeframe, the Nevada Arts Council awarded over $4 million in grant funds, engaged with over 4.2 million people, and Nevada Arts Council grants projects infused total cash and in-kind contributions of over $265 million into Nevada's economy. And in case you're wondering, over $253 million of that was cash. In our performance measures, of note and not surprising, the pandemic negatively impacted in-person engagement across the board. The creative field continues to feel the negative effects of the pandemic, with audience numbers, opportunities, and engagements for many in Nevada still not reaching pre-pandemic levels. Grant requests continue to be in high demand, while number of awards and award amounts are unable to keep pace. This is further exacerbated by our higher inflation. The governor's executive budget contains no significant changes. The agency is proposing no significant activity changes. Our enhancement decision units request computer hardware and associated software per our EATS recommended replacement schedule. And our focus areas, opportunities, and challenges. The agency is running under a strategic plan that has 3 areas of focus: arts education, economic vitality, and healthy communities. Arts education is really around helping those who create art and do it better. Professional development opportunities for artists, teachers, schools, communities, and organization and cultural leaders. Economic vitality is certainly centered around our grant programs addressing the relief, recovery, and sustainability for artists and arts organizations by creating opportunities and promoting cultural tourism, to name just a few. And healthy communities, collaborating with healthcare partners to increase the support and use of arts and healing, quality of life initiatives, well-being, and the aging of Nevada residents. The arts and creative sector are integrated into the economic, health, well-being, and educational needs of Nevada, and public funding for the arts and creativity is a high return on investment that benefits every Nevadan in every city, town, and rural community statewide. Thank you again for your attention today, and thank you for helping make Nevada rich in art.
Thank you very much. As the daughter of an artist, I get this. It's hanging in my office as we speak. Are there any questions? We're running just a tad behind, so if there's any burning questions and you want to take them offline, but your presentation was very wonderful and full of information, and we thank you for being here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
All right, we'll move on to Division of Museums and History.
get out of this now? Okay, thank you. All right. Good morning, Madam Chair and Joint Committee members. For the record, Myron Friedman, Administrator for the Division of Museums and History, the Department of Tourism and Cultural Affairs. Created in 1941, your state museums welcome visitors year-round to engage with the stories and artifacts of Nevada's past, from the era of prehistoric seas when ichthyosaurs swam in abundance to the booming mines of the Comstock and beyond. Our mission is to preserve, share, and promote Nevada's natural and cultural heritage for Nevadans living today and for succeeding generations. We accomplish this by providing engaging museum experiences and access to historic resources. We work as a team, address the public needs, and meet industry standards. What do? We preserve Nevada's heritage, we curate collections and curatorial services, exhibit, education, and research services, tourism, and community development. There are 7 state museums across the state: the Nevada Historical Society in Reno, 2 Nevada State Museums, one in Las Vegas and one in Carson City, the Railroad Depot Museum in Ely, the Lost City Museum of Archaeology in Overton, and 2 railroad museums in Carson City and Boulder City. We're authorized by NRS 381 to preserve and interpret Nevada's heritage. We coordinate many budget accounts for museums, administration, and the Board of Museums and History, employing over 60 staff and relying on the good work of hundreds of volunteers. We manage collections with millions of historic items. We provide teachers and their classes with curriculum-based programs and lifelong learning for all Nevadans, promoting diversity and civil dialogue through exhibits and dozens of programs. We support the activities of the State Board of Museums and History, and we provide technical support and curation services for federal agencies and nonprofit, private, and public museums. The current biennium period has been one of recovery from the effects of the pandemic. Visits to museums was up sharply in 2022, when museums served over 133,000 visitors. The upcoming biennium will see all 7 museums return to full-scale operations and feature critical projects to more fully serve our communities. In the summer of 2023, we will complete the design, planning, and construction document phase for a new visitor center and museum at the Nevada State Railroad Museum in Boulder City. Funded by AB 84 authorized sale of conservation bonds, this project will be shovel-ready for the next round of authorized bond funding. Located at the entrance to historic Boulder City, the museum is expected to greatly increase its attendance and bring additional visitors to Boulder City and the Hoover Dam area, impacting its economic development. The new 9,000 square foot facility includes spaces for classrooms and community meetings. New exhibits will provide an effective introduction on railroading's historic impact on the development of southern Nevada. We expect to open in early 2026, with a funding plan taking us through 2026. The enhancement unit here, passage of BDR, museum lease fee revenues, forwards lease revenues from rail bike services totaling $289,050 for the biennium to support increasing costs in railroad museum operations, maintenance, collection preservation, and site improvement. Running a railroad is expensive. The Federal Railroad Authority regulates all aspects of historic train operations. For example, the site has 7 miles of track that will need new ties to meet federal standards, and locomotive maintenance is also an ongoing cost. This enhancement provides $27,025 in operations, $27,500 in locomotive maintenance, and $180,000 reserved for collection preservation and site development costs. Site development costs are estimated at $20 million. The The museum has strong partners in Boulder City and the City of Henderson and the Department of Outdoor Recreation to create a game-changing regional attraction. The plan view of the site shown here shows the complete build-out, including a mile-long linear park with additional exhibit areas and railroad activities. In the summer of 2023, we will also complete the design, planning, and construction documents phase to renovate and improve the historic Nevada Northern Railway freight building in Ely into a year-round facility for museum and community use. Construction funding is included in the CIP process. The Nevada Historical Society. Nevada's oldest cultural institution and largest repository of archival materials. The 2019 plan to purchase and move to a new and larger location was derailed by the 2020 budget cuts. To preserve the collection and services, it is imperative the current Historical Society building, built in 1967, is maintained. The building suffers from years of deferred maintenance and requires major renovation and updating of mechanical, electrical, plumbing, ceilings, storage, building exterior, and seismic reinforcing. Decision Unit E225 adds a critical position, facility supervisor, to the NHS staff to maintain a large, aging, and complex facility with sophisticated storage systems and environmental controls. This requires full-time management of maintenance and utility needs. The position will also oversee major remediation and improvements, including upcoming CIPs to replace and upgrade fire, security, electrical, life safety systems, seismic retrofit, and restoration of the building envelope. And the images here, you can see the exterior of the Historical Society, where the fabric on the outside has completely been infiltrated by moisture, and this weather we're suffering through right now is no exception. And on the inside, you'll see the water intrude into, particularly along the north wall, but into several areas inside the building. Decision Unit E225 provides for the biennium a new FTE facility supervisor to manage and maintain the large, aging, and complex facility with the sophisticated storage systems and environmental controls. This requires full-time management of maintenance and utility needs. E227 provides $8,376 for the biennium for a charter communications fiber connection to improve the museum's digital access and preservation of historic materials. This requires an upgrade in internet service, and the new service is significantly more expensive than the prior service. Sitting with me here is Daphne DeLeon, our Administrative Services Officer for the division, and we are happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions? I actually think we just have one from Assemblywoman Anderson, and then we'll move on. Am I right, Assemblywoman?
No, but I can come up with one if you like.
Well, that's all right. Nope.
I love these museums, and actually, I do have a question.
All right, go
Thank you.
ahead, and then we will move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. Looking at the Museum of the Historical Society, I can remember researching information there in the 90s, and it felt old then. When it comes to the Historical Society, though, how many visitors do you get, and what is it that usually of an academic area, or is it also just people coming in off the street across from the little wall?
Well, during the pandemic, we saw less than 1,000. Prior to the pandemic and since the pandemic, our numbers are more like 4,000 per year. And we do have more than just the research services and the library. We have a museum there. And if you're familiar with the Historical Society, you know it's sort of a prisoner on the campus of UNR. You know, it's our historical society, it's the state's historical society, but it is on the campus. It's been there for a long, long time. And what has happened over the years is that the university has grown up around it in that area. So now the parking for the Historical Society is extremely limited. So visitors to the museum can only come in dribs and drabs because that's all we can accommodate in the parking lot, and the same with the programs. So looking down the road for the Historical Society, we would like to get back to the plan of moving it into a larger facility, more centrally located in the area so people can get to it. And we're excited to pursue opportunities to see how we can make that come about.
So follow up, if I may. Sure. Thanks. With that, has there been discussion with the university about possibly doing a land exchange and/or, because I know that the university has land outside of that area as well, or has there been extensive conversations about possibly making some agreements in that fashion?
Well, all of that was part of the previous plan when we were going into the Nelson building and off of 2nd Street. We haven't talked with them specifically about what to do next with their land opportunities, because frankly, what we would like to do is to move the Historical Society more centrally into the town, so people into the arts district if we can, as you will, if you'll think of that midtown and downtown area. That's where we have our sights set.
Thank you, and also just wanted to pass on my condolences for Dirt, who I believe passed away just a few weeks ago.
Well, Dirt is right, and I should clarify because the Dirt is the wonderful mascot of the Nevada Northern Railway, and that's operated by a foundation in Ely, and the State's Museum are the two historic buildings on that property. So we know Dirt, we love Dirt, but he does belong to the foundation.
Thank you very much, and thank you for bringing up Dirt, Assemblywoman, because my family had a really fun time naming the next cat via email with all my siblings. So we were quite creative in that venture. Senator Gansert, please go ahead, and then we'll move on to the Department of Tourism.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the presentation. I just wanted to note what would be helpful when you come back for more details is to include the capital improvements. So you've got a table of attendance, but a lot of your buildings are going to have an investment. And when I looked at the list of CIP projects for the broader Department of Tourism, Cultural Affairs, most of them are yours. So that just would be helpful when you come back. Thank you.
Myron Freeman, for the record, thank you. We will do that.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your presentation and attending today.
Thank you.
And we will move on to the Division of Tourism. Welcome.
Good morning.
Now you're back.
Bear with me while I pull up my presentation. Good morning. For the record, Brenda Scolari, Director of Tourism and Cultural Affairs. I'm presenting this morning on behalf of the Division of Tourism. As you know, tourism contributes a great deal to Nevada's economy, as represented here in these numbers. It's Travel Nevada's job to pay close attention to how, where, and why visitor spending is done. So we closely observe that, and we pay attention to trends such as the steep increase in outdoor recreation spending noted in this slide. We then allocate our lodging tax base to marketing and developing innovative tourism assets throughout the state. The 3/8% of lodging tax allocated to the Division of Tourism is spent in this fashion. We have 27% of collections go to the state agencies, primarily within the department. 15% go to operational costs, and the bulk of it goes to marketing and advertising, which is categorized into industry development, rural grants, and public relations efforts. The Division of Tourism focuses in these areas. Marketing, of course, we are research informed. Our data collection also allows us to report on our effectiveness and measure outcomes. Public relations, industry development includes our rural and destination development grant programs, and of course, Nevada Magazine, which is our publishing arm. Our mission, of course, is to effectively market and promote the state as a top-of-mind destination in the West, but really we're motivated by making every community in the state a better place to live and work. The programs within our strategic plan are as follows. Brand evolution, of course, destination development, visitor experience, which really is education of hospitality businesses throughout the state. Industry relations, we like to advance and support our tourism network. Discover Your Nevada, which is our in-state program targeted at Nevada residents. And then the development of domestic and international media placement. Our overall goal is to continually align campaigns and programs to reinforce and inspire what distinguishes Nevada as a competitive travel destination. Of course, our competitive set is other Western states. We promote Nevada as a stunning, authentic, entertaining, accessible destination. We do that primarily through the promotion of road trips. These are curated itineraries which lead the visitor off the main highways. So often our main cultural and outdoor recreation experiences are there. Each of our branded road trips is characterized by the unique flavor of that region. Discover Your Nevada is our resident campaign, and we developed a commercial spot, which we broadcast in state. I won't play it here today in the interest of time, but please visit discoveryournevada.com, and there you can discover all of the assets that we've put together for residents. We place media in 6 drive markets in the West, also in emerging markets that have engaged and shown interest in Nevada online, and also 2 trending destinations, Chicago and Portland. These are some examples of our print, digital, and even an example of a transportation takeover that we did in Chicago. Our PR is centered around content themes such as uninhibited space, surprising discoveries, and rewarding adventures that target select audiences. That's underpinned by a consistent thread of outdoor recreation experiences. We have representation in 5 international markets in Canada, Mexico, the UK, Germany, and Australia. We engage audiences in those markets through tour operators, travel agents, the airlines, car rentals. We do have a public relations effort, of course, often through social media. We engage with online travel agents. We lead sales missions. We are often a part of Brand USA and U.S. Travel Association's efforts. And we are developing multi-state itineraries for international visitors who, of course, don't often recognize state borders. Our integrated marketing effectiveness survey is a qualitative survey that helps us determine how many people have engaged with our marketing, so their awareness of it, and then to what degree we have altered perception of Nevada as a destination. Our rural marketing grants, we distribute $1.4 million, I believe in the biennium identified as $1.5 million in marketing grant funding annually. That funding supports marketing, research, asset development, education, events in tourism destinations throughout the state. And those are for our smaller communities with populations under 100,000. Destination Development is a new tourism infrastructure grant program. It is designed to create a local stakeholder group in support of tourism asset development. It will identify the limits of the funding to support that project, and then it develops a 10-year long-range plan with a marketing support of its success. This is a slide describes the Destination Development Demonstration Project, or our 3D first round of funding for destination development. It comes through EDA funds through the U.S. Department of Commerce. We're expending $2 million with the help of state and local and federal partners who have helped us evaluate those applicants. And we will expend that money over the next 2 years on 6 projects. And important to this new grant program is the fact that it is community designed and led. So even though the state is developing it and hope that it will be funded on an ongoing basis, it's very much the concept and a community-focused effort. So it's not the state's concepts, the state's projects. It's what the residents feel is missing in their communities and where tourism fits in the fabric of their local economy. It's a little misleading. The title of this, $1 million per fiscal, we've identified it in the biennial budget that we would like to fund destination development infrastructure grants at $1 million per fiscal year beginning in FY25 and have it be an ongoing program for the state. Nevada Magazine, the venerated publication, we have come to the legislature with interim reports to solve for the problem of its fiscal health related to ad revenue. It's struggled like every publication has globally. And one of the solutions we've arrived at is tourism is now paying the publication to serve as the state's visitor's guide. So in addition to the long-form traditional magazine content in the publication, it also has a number of trip planning resources available in it. And as part of a BDR this session, we are proposing to solve that once and for all, to change the statute which identifies the magazine as an enterprise fund. It has to be self-supporting, which it's always struggled to do. We'd like to absorb the staff of the magazine into the marketing team of Travel Nevada. So they'll continue to act in the same capacity and publish the magazine, but their skills will also be used elsewhere. So we'll create kind of an in-house content studio as a result. Another aspect of the BDR is to create a deputy of tourism position, which would eliminate my dual role as the head of the department and the head of the division. We'll swap 2 unfilled positions to offset the cost of that position. We'd also like to create a new budget account so that we will separate out all of the operational costs that serve the entire department, as well as the transfers and the operating expenses, which I already mentioned. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for that information. I'll go to Assemblywoman Anderson and then over to Senator Gokachia.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. My first question has to do with the rural marketing grants, or the idea of trying to highlight our rural areas. Has there been any discussion with possibly working with our PBS stations, who I believe the Reno station actually produces Wild Nevada? Has there been any sort of discussion at all with trying to partner with them and doing that? Because I believe that is in, I think, about 135 markets outside of our state.
Brenda Scolari, for the record. We have sponsored Wild Nevada a number of times and quite aware of its success. Yeah, it's been syndicated throughout the country. We have supported it. I know we have a current buy with them, the details of which I'm not familiar with, but I can follow up with you. We're big supporters of that show.
Thank you. Thank you for that, and follow up if I may. So it'd be wonderful if that could be an ongoing sponsorship, because I know that that is a large expense for our local PBS station. I do have a second question regarding the change of the new tourism cultural affairs. I understand where it's coming from, and as you explained it made me a little bit more comfortable. However, the room tax initially was used for education. How would that be continued in this program if there was a change of department? Would there continue to be an education element where possibly with the museums or the Arts Center who had spoken earlier, there could be a partnership in that area, or has that been any type of discussion at this time?
For the record, Brenda Scolari, I think the intent and the administration of the tourism transfers will remain the same. We really do operate as an integrated team. We consider the museums one of our primary tourism assets. The expression of our arts communities is also a major draw for every community in the state. And I don't think the intent or the what we're doing with that lodging tax is going to change at all. It's just really the flow of the money and our ability to kind of cleanly operate, because so much of it was just in one account and kind of difficult for us to administer sometimes.
Thank you for that, and I'll probably be asking some more questions offline about the education element of it. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you. Senator Gocochea?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and mine is really frivolous. The last slide, the picture of the mill, where is it?
We can't figure it out.
I'm trying to figure out where it is. You can get back to me. Thank you.
I will. I'll look at that more closely. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Neal, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I had a question on the slide on the international market development, the travel trade. So it's unique, but I'm wondering, number one, who do you engage in the market micro events and the wholesalers? And is there a supply chain relationship here where there could be some procurement opportunities? Help me understand, like, kind of how that travel trade piece works in your office.
For the record, Brenda Scolari. So our Industry Development Officer, Anton Eckert, administers the contracts with representation in those 5 markets. So we'd be happy to, we're always entertaining and hoping to include any tourism partners in the state, receptive operators. We'd be happy to have conversations about how to include anyone you have in mind.
Okay. It just seems that, well, let me ask the second question. Is there any kind of overlap or crossover with GoEd or the state purchasing office if there's any procurement opportunity there, or do you just operate as an island, or do you work with the other entities in the state in order to develop this trade piece?
For the record, Brenda Scolari, because our efforts are solely in the area of tourism and audience development in those markets, we haven't executed missions with GoEd, but we'd certainly be open to that possibility.
Well, tourism is a huge, huge area in the state. I mean, it's always been. And now we have sports tourism. Now we have all these other areas that are being developed. And it just seems that being that pretty much our bulk of our revenue is built on the fact that someone else comes to the state, it seems, I'm just wondering, how do we, I guess, correlate and build into a larger ecosystem so that opportunities for Nevadans who are here can kind of build into that market and then also, benefit from that revenue in their business model. That makes sense. And that's what I'm getting at. We can talk about it offline, but I think there's an opportunity here to expand and grow this in a way that helps small businesses in Nevada participate in this market.
For the record, Brenda Scolari, I agree. I absolutely agree, and I'd be happy to talk to the new director of GoEd and with you about those possibilities.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your presentation today. And we appreciate your team being here.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, next we will go to the Department of Business and Industry, and I believe Mr. Reynolds is here to join us.
Madam Chair, would you like staff to distribute physical copies of the exhibits to the members?
I think everyone has one, but if you don't, if you'd like to raise your hand, I have your presentation up here. No?
Oh, no, I guess they're handing them
Oh,
out.
okay. There we go. Yes, these came in real early this morning, so thank you very much. All righty. Mr. Reynolds, when you're ready, we're ready, I think. Thank you.
Good morning. This is Terry Reynolds, Director for the Department of Business and Industry. I'm going to go through our slide presentation rather quickly so we can save some time for questions on that. So bear with me because I have a lot to cover, but I'll try to get through it expeditiously, and then we'll leave time for questions for you all. Thank you. Department of Industry, Business Industry consists of 12 different divisions. Basically, the Director's Office, Insurance, Industrial Relations, Housing, Real Estate, Mortgage Lending, Financial Institutions, the Taxi Cab Authority, Nevada Transportation Authority, our smallest unit, which is the Employee Management Relations Board, the Labor Commissioner, and the Attorney for Injured Workers. To really have a better understanding of the department, we've divided it up into 4 different quadrants. And some of you have seen this before, but it really bears going through it so you understand how we function and what we do in the department. Under Commerce and Capital Regulation, we have financial institutions, insurance, mortgage lending, real estate, Taxi Cab Authority, and the Nevada Transportation Authority. These are basically regulatory agencies that deal with commerce and capital regulation. Under the second one, Labor and Workforce Protection, we have the Office of Labor Commissioner, Employee Management Relations Board, Industrial Relations, which has 5 segments to it: Workers' Compensation, Mechanical Unit, OSHA, Mine Safety, and Safety Consultation and Training section, which is basically for safety training. We also have the Attorney for Injured Workers, which I'll go into a little more in the presentations, which is a very unique Nevada type of representation for injured workers. We have community development and small business. We have the Office of Business Finance and Planning down in Las Vegas, and we do a lot of work with small businesses and training, informative workshops for entrepreneurs to help them with their business efforts. During the pandemic, we worked with GoEd and we distributed over $100 million to small businesses. We fielded about 1,500 phone calls for businesses in our office to be able to help them with the utilization of applying for the dollars, how they could best use it for their business, and to get them started on their way through the pandemic. We also are the conduit issuer for the state for private activity bonds. So we do industrial revenue bonds, we do housing bonds, and we do charter school bonds. So very active area in, especially now for housing. We have our weatherization grants. About $3 million that we use for weatherization projects throughout the state for either helping people that live in cold climates or in warm climates, replacing windows, working on air conditioning, helping them with so that they can reduce their and have more efficient energy utilization. We also are the issuer and regulator, overseer of New Market Tax Credit Program. This last go-around, you extended that program, the legislature did. We've been able to work with the community development entity partners, and we were able to finance 31 new businesses within the state. So this last few years was very challenging because I want to say broke it down into 3 different types of assistance for businesses. We had what we call saves, businesses that were going under because of the pandemic, and we were able to help them with a new market tax credit loan to be able to keep their business going. We had new businesses that were starting up, and we had businesses that were growing within the state, existing businesses that we were able to work with. So all in all, we invested about $209 million into those businesses within our community. Now, on top of that, a lot of those businesses were eligible for federal new market tax credit dollars, and so we were able to bring in about 90-some million in federal dollars for those businesses within the state. Advocacy and advancement. In the director's office, we have the Office of Consumer Affairs. This is a very small unit. We have about 7 people in the state, 2 in the north and 5 in the south. We handle about between 1,800 and 2,000 cases a year, and we return over just under $200 million to consumers within the state. We work very closely with the Fight Fraud Task Force down in Clark County. We also work with the AG's office very directly with fraud cases. So it's a very effective unit in terms of how they operate. And the return, we clear about 90% of the cases that we have within the office. We have the Commission on Minority Affairs, which really looks at minority issues in employment, education, community issues, political engagement in terms of how you can engage within your community to make yourself heard. Also in terms of helping support minority businesses. So very effective unit. We've had a very outstanding board. It's a 9-member board. That board is selected by the Legislative Commission. Those members are. And they're very effective. We also have the Ombudsman for Minority Affairs. That's Miriam Laura Hickerson. She does an outstanding job. She has a radio program that reaches, I think now, about 50,000 people in the Southern Nevada area. So she is very engaged in terms of working with minority businesses within our community. We have a housing advocate, Nia Girma, who works on for an advocate for affordable housing. She does a lot of work with seniors in terms of the housing issues that they have. So We also have the HOA Ombudsman. The Ombudsman Office is part of the Real Estate Division. Our Ombudsman is Jason Wyatt. It's amazing because we have now about 580-some thousand households that are in associations within the state. Now, that's just households. That's not people. So if you add that up, it's millions of people that are basically in HOAs. We also have the Consumer Affairs with insurance, and that's also a very important unit because of the size of the insurance agency, insurance industry within Nevada. So over a $2 billion industry within our state. The budget for business and industry comes from the state general fund, only 1.7%. So the remaining 90+% of that comes from federal funds, highway funds, industry fees, like I said, 1.7% general fund, and transfers. So we operate as internal service funds, so we supply everything from in the central director's office, we do all the budgeting, accounts payables, receivables, travel. We allocate our rent for our building. We have 15 offices statewide, and we also do all the budget work for our different divisions. Business and industry contributions to general fund. This gives you a 10-year summary on the slide going from 13 to 22, and you can see that in 22 we contributed 56 million, a little over 56 million to the general fund. So even though we only get about 1.7% of the general fund, we contributed a significant amount back to the general fund. You see the main contribution here from Division of Insurance, Real Estate Division, and the combined department contribution. I would say that also any kind of penalties and fines that we collect through our agencies, that also goes to the general fund. So those go directly through to the general fund. Business and Industry Director's Office, gone through this, and I'll go through this rather quickly. We provide direct support to our department's 11 divisions. We have a centralized fiscal, budget, collections, payroll, human resources, and technology for that. Our financial institutions and mortgage lending division's licensing. All in all, the Department of Business and Industry issues about 260,000 licenses a year to Nevada businesses. We administer provisions of law and development and regulation of policies for our agencies. We work very hard on development of regulations and making sure that they're fair and equitable, and we have a good partnership with our industries. We assist with economic development initiatives and coordinate programs to encourage growth and retention of business. We work very closely with the Governor's Office of Economic Development to be able to help with business. We actually provide a lot of times financing through private activity bonds for those businesses. We advocate and protect for our consumers and minority affairs. As I indicated, our Consumer Affairs unit. We provide direct constituent services through our office. We provide, like I said, the conduit issuer for private activity, charter school, and housing bonds. We also administer, as I indicated, the New Market Jobs Act. So I would mention that the state gets about $345 million authorization from IRS to issue bonds. Half of that goes to the local government entities and half goes to the director's office. This year we're able to, because we did not use the director's office for share for industrial revenue areas, we're going to transmit $226 million over to housing. To be able to do housing bonds with those funds. So over the last 3 fiscal years, we have been able to put forward about a little over $700 million in volume cap IRS authority to issue tax-exempt bonds within the state. And most of that has gone to housing. Our key budget enhancements are, additional in-state travel and education materials for the Commission on Minority Affairs for outreach to rural areas in Nevada. We are transferring 2 of our IT professional positions. It's an IT Professional 2, IT Professional 3 position from the Division of Industrial Relations to the Director's Office department-wide. What we do is we have a centralized IT staff, and we allocate them to where the needs are within our different agencies. So they are cost allocated for the work that they do to those different agencies. So it's a more of a, I think, efficient way to be able to do that than having them in-house within an agency. We're centralizing that so that we can use them in different capacity for different offices. Replacement of video conference equipment in the Las Vegas Business Center. I'm happy to report that this March we will celebrate our 6th year in our Sahara Street location for that. And so we consolidated all of our agencies plus DIR afterwards, DIR agencies within that centralized location. We were spread out in 7 different locations throughout the valley in Clark County, and so we were able to do kind of a one-stop shop for those entities. Major personnel issues facing the department. This is a common theme that you'll hear from probably some of all of your different departments that you're hearing from on budget. We've had a high rate of turnover in skill positions and lower level fiscal and administrative staff. Our positions open for a year with little or no applications. CPAs in financial institutions and mortgage lending, nursing-related positions in DIR, top financial examiner positions in financial institutions and mortgage lending are really difficult to hire and find. We really have to do something with in the CPA area because we just, with the wages we pay, we cannot hire CPAs. Insurance and DIR have been hard hit with vacancies in their skill positions too, where there's a market in the private sector or employees willing to give them more flexibility in their work and location hours. They have stolen our employees away. Still, our department overall vacancy rate is actually, if you look at it, pretty good. We're probably in the range between 16 and 18% vacancy rates. In some other areas within the state I know there are 25 to 30% vacancy rate. Hiring lists are not good with applicants lacking qualifications for positions. High rate of no-shows for interviews. We just did a recruitment for admin 2 position. We had 16 no-shows. And then we set up 4 people for interviews, and we had no-shows in that. So we went from 27 down to being able to interview 4 people. So to give you an idea what we're facing. And that's true for a lot of the positions that if we do get applicants, what happens. Insurance division, under capital and commerce regulation, the agency protects consumers and ensures solvency of Nevada's insurance providers. This is an extremely important job. It's a difficult job because we have to make sure that insurance providers within the state maintain their solvency. Regulate Nevada's $22 billion insurance industry, which has grown by 91% in the last 10 years. Our insurance industry has grown, but if you look at our population growth, you're going to see that insurance industry grow too. Division regulates insurance companies, captives, insurance agents, adjusters, bail bond agents, and other license types in all lines of insurance, including health, life, property, casualty, title insurance, auto, and homeowners. Our primary focus is to monitor and ensure solvency for their carriers, to safeguard that insurance companies doing business in Nevada can make good on the promises made to their consumers, promote compliance to provide an adequate and competitive market, ensure Nevada consumers are treated fairly, licensing and education of individuals interacting with consumers in Nevada's insurance, and consumer protection and fraud investigation. The key budget enhancement here is the purchase of fraud case management software and training for investigative staff. We work very closely with other states on a national basis, as well as the AG's office in terms of making sure that we protect consumers. So we regularly get involved with the Attorney General's office in consumer fraud issues with insurance, but also on a national level. We're very active in our national association, And we see a lot of companies that will move from state to state to state, offering different products that aren't necessarily what they say they are. The Division of Industrial Relations consists of 5 units, as I said, 5 sections. The Workers' Compensation section, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, Safety Consultation and Training section, this is our main training section, Mine Safety and Training section, and the Mechanical Compliance section. The key industrial relations budget enhancements here are to enhance the Department of Industrial Relations Claims and Regulatory Data System, what's called CARDS, to streamline financial transactions, improve security, improve service to stakeholders, and improve workers' compensation assessment process. We do a lot of paper work here, and we're getting it to where we can download those files and equipment and paper into the system, so that our people that use the system can get readily access to what's available in terms of for the doctors that are and therapists and different entities that provide health care to workers, so that they can get access and see who's out there and available for their clients. New management analysts to manage Nevada's OSHA contracts due to increases in program activity. We have a lot of contracts within that we work with in our agency, and so we want to make sure that we're following those contracts, making sure that we're paying attention to start date, end date. Are they doing what they say they're supposed to be doing in those contracts? So this is more than just monitoring, it's making sure that we have compliance in our contract areas. New program coordinator positioned to manage and expand the Las Vegas office for the SCAT's Voluntary Protection Program. This is our safety training program that we have large businesses in. For example, in Southern Nevada, we had Boyd Gaming is one of the large areas that has signed up for our Voluntary Protection Program for safety training. Tesla, we're working with them. They are now working with us on an overall safety training program within their facility. We also have a new safety specialist, mine safety position for the Elko district that we're requesting. As you know, mining is continuing to grow, and with lithium mining within our state, we will see additional mines up and operating within various areas of the state. Nevada Housing Division. Nevada Housing Division basically has their home ownership programs. We have financing for multifamily development and preservation for affordable housing, weatherization assistance, oversight of manufactured housing within the state. We administer federal funding for housing that comes in to the state. So a lot of that is conduit funding that goes and is distributed to Clark and Washoe County in the rural areas. We have a housing database reporting. We have a rental database that we operate within our housing unit. So if you are looking for an apartment or a rental property, you can go to that database and have access in terms of what you're looking for. Not a lot of people know about that. We advertise on social media on it, but it's a very effective way for people that are looking for rental properties within the state to be able to take advantage of that. Housing advocacy, as I mentioned, we do have a housing advocate within our housing division. Additional activities during the pandemic, obviously we're working on the Home Means Nevada initiative, and in this budget it shows $125 million in fiscal year 24 and $125 million fiscal year 25. This will go to support those Home Means Nevada initiative projects that we are working with. Westside Housing Project, this is the Westside program that we're working with Clark County and the city of Las Vegas on that. We separated that out so that you could see what the allocation is for that. Homeowner assistance on this, and also home partnership. These are our ARPA funding that. Current activities that we provide down payment assistance to low and mid-income home buyers. We've done special programs for teachers and veterans. We have 12 developments that financially closed in the 4% low-income housing tax credit program in the last 18 months, creating or preserving about 2,400 affordable apartments. We have $8 million in tax credits currently allocated in the 9% program. We assisted 587 households through weatherization programs in FY21. The annual administration of over $21 million in federal grants and state grants for construction, preservation, affordable housing, rental assistance housing, and neighborhood stabilization. So you think of the housing division, we do a lot of work, financial work, in terms of being able to bond for housing projects and preservation. We also do a lot of work in terms of being able to conduit issue monies for everything from rental assistance to housing to homeless programs within the state. So we're kind of a central program for that. We work very closely with our housing partners in Clark County, Washoe County, and the Nevada Rural Housing Authority. Key housing division projects here. This was put into our base budget, so it makes it look like it's kind of inflated, but these are the ARPA funding. We have $150 million in the first year of the biennium, and then $150 in the second. So, real estate division. Real estate division consists of several areas: licensing, real estate, builders and developers. These are our mapping that we work with builders and developing, improving their maps. Timeshare industry, appraisers, energy audit and inspection service. We also have the Real Estate Commission, the Commission of Appraisers and Real Estate Education section. As you can see right now, we have of all types of licenses, about 41,000 licensees within the states. In terms of, here's a breakdown of the complaints, cases opened, commission hearings, and calls. Our commission, Real Estate Commission, and the Commission for Real Estate Appraisers, they do a very, very good job. It's been difficult finding good people to be on there, especially in the area of appraisers, but we've been able to do that and find some good people for those commissions. Then we have the HOA side. The real estate agency is it's interesting division because half of it is funded by general fund with a mix-in of fees, and then we have the HOA side, which is funded by a door fee per unit within an HOA. And as you see, we have right now total registered associations of about a little over 3,500. This last year, we added 13,173 new units. We added 97 new associations and 769 licensed community managers. So overall, we have 584,706 households that are involved in the HOAs. We have, through the Ombudsman's Office, we have HOA registration, education and training, alternative dispute resolution, mediation, compliance, and our CIC task force. We have a 7-member body that handles HOA areas appointed by the governor that does discipline, regulation, and advisory. For real estate division, the key enhancements are to change the compliant audit investigator from a part-time position to a full-time position in Northern Nevada due to an increase of complaints requiring investigation in our northern office. Also, we are working, and thank you for authorizing the technology fee in the last legislative session in 21. We are updating our education database and portal to manage and compile and maintain educational standards and records for the approved schools. So as a real estate agent, and you have to submit that material, we're now able to upload that material so that you can automatically upload it and keep it current. For our schools, sponsors, instructors, and for pre and post licensing education, continuing education for our licensees. And the current system really has been aging and still uses paper forms. So we're getting away from all of our paper. In fact, I'm proud of the real estate agency because they're pretty much have digitized all of their files within their system, which is if you could see the amount of space that it freed up, it was pretty incredible at the time. So, Morris Lane Division. Morris Lane Division basically oversees escrow agencies, escrow agents, mortgage companies, mortgage loan originators, covered service providers, mortgage servicers, and credit service organizations. You see how many of each type that we have. We also work very closely with a nationwide multi-state licensing system and registry for the mortgage loan companies and our servicers. Through Mortgage Lending Division, the enhancements here are a new compliance investigator position to support the increase in the number of licensees, individuals, and with the increase in the number of non-depository mortgage lending transactions. Private lending, which is growing in the state. We have requested a new IT professional position to develop and implement cybersecurity exam program. This is something that we work with the multi-state mortgage system and registry, and this is a topic that really is that we really need to get up to speed on, because there is a lot of cybersecurity issues with mortgage companies and with transfer of monies. When you buy a house or buy a property and you're transferring those monies, a lot of those times that can be basically a basis for fraud, and it's huge. So we're working with national organizations to be able to get up to speed for our cybersecurity program. This is also true with financial institutions. It's a good segue here. Our financial institutions division, we're seeing a lot of growth in certain areas. We're seeing kind of a shrinkage in state chartered banks, but we're starting to see an increase in retail trusts and family trust companies. So that is growing, but even so, our depository institutions within Nevada that we regulate have $26 billion in assets. Our fiduciary institutions about $60 billion, and then the non-depository side of that, which is deferred deposit, payday lenders, private professional gardens, collection agencies, money transmitters, installment lenders, consumer litigation funding companies, and uniform debt managers. So we're seeing really a lot of growth in this area, to be expected with our population, but Nevada's becoming, because of the work that was done in the trust area and savings bank areas, the modernization of our statutes within that, we're seeing a lot more trust companies having interest within the state of Nevada. So we're looking at some large companies moving into the state within the next couple of years, which is very much a positive for the state of Nevada. Division responsibilities: we process and respond to written complaints. We investigate violations and take necessary disciplinary actions. We promote and maintain the public's trust and confidence in the state financial system through regulatory activities. We were quite busy with the pandemic and making sure that banks stayed open. They were able to service their customers and be able to and we had a lot of issues, especially with some of the smaller banks when they lost some of their staff, were out sick, to making sure that they could operate. We facilitate proposals to form de novo depository institutions and encourage consideration by national and out-of-state chartered institutions to convert and relocate Nevada state charters in an effort to build the following loss. We had over 50% of our banks, financial institutions went out or stopped doing business But we're seeing that come back in now, which is good. It's not going to build up as fast. We're probably not going to have as many banks, but we are going to have a strong financial base for our communities and our businesses within the state. We facilitate the establishment of fast-growing retail and family trust companies and bringing skilled professionals into our state. This is really a growing area within our state. No key budget enhancements here for financial institutions. Next one is Taxi Cab Authority. Taxi cab's primary safety functions are driver permitting, fingerprint and background investigations. We do vehicle inspections. We work with the companies that we have that operate taxis on vehicle inspections. We work on enforcement. We do, the difference here, we do actual routine patrol in impounds, and so these are dispatched out to areas within the community for taxis. We have currently out 3,500 medallions, 16 cab companies, 3,796 active drivers. Our taxi rides pre-COVID went from, well, we were down to actually, for 1 month, we were down to about 12,000 taxi rides. But pre-COVID, we were around 15.8 million. We have climbed back up to 13.498 million, which is a significant increase. So we're really happy to see that. Taxis remain an essential mode of frontline transportation through COVID-19 pandemic. They remain the most efficient and quick way to move large sums of people, especially the marquee events like shows, professional sports, conventions. We're seeing a situation where in both Clark County and Washoe County, but particularly in Clark County, where we need every form of transportation we can get because of the businesses doing. That is actually good news. It is growing our transportation industry both from NTA and TA standpoint. With the advent of autonomous vehicles coming in the mass market over the next 5 years, it's likely that both traditional taxis and network vehicles will continue as complementary systems. We have been working with the autonomous vehicles companies that are coming in and working with them in terms of how they're going to manage their company, how they're going to manage rides, what that's going to look like, what areas they're going to work in. And so we expect to see that be more commonplace over the next 4 to 5 years. Unlawful passenger transportation continues to be a significant issue within and requires constant enforcement. We are seeing that with every single event that we have within our communities is illegal operators. Current status of revenue and reserves. Give you an idea, our taxi cab authority is doing much better than it was previously. And you can see the number of trips in terms of where we're at and where we are today in terms of the difference. So the markets are growing. That's good news. The companies are more healthy. It's bringing back more shuttles, limos, buses operating within our communities. Taxi cab, the major budget enhancements here is a reclassification of our chief investigator to deputy division administrator. We used to have a chief of enforcement and also a deputy administrator. We're now combining those positions and to have one person that, so your administrator, which is Mr. Carl Armstrong, will be over the administrative side, and we'll have the deputy be over the enforcement side. So we'll have basically a law enforcement person as the administrator over the law enforcement side. We think that's a more efficient operation. It does save us money in terms of control for those positions. We also purchased the required new radio equipment to remain compatible with the Nevada shared radio system. Nevada Transportation Authority, this is the so if you look at it, NTA does taxis everywhere else but Clark County, and then they also have everything from charter buses, limos, movers, tow cars, tour buses, non-emergency medical transfers, employee van pools, airport transfer services, special services, warehouse permits, transportation network companies, which is autonomous vehicles. So they are very busy. They process driver permits, but for TNCs, we only license the companies, we don't license the drivers. So I want to make that clear. We administer new carrier applications. We oversee administrative and enforcement hearings. We audit and inspections of existing characters and enforcement of Nevada laws. Active carriers, we have about 478 active carriers. Certificates by authority is 535. TNC driver count now is, the good news is, we're back up to 31,000. Non-TNC driver count is about 8,438. So we are seeing Uber and Lyft drivers come back into the system. There was a lag for that. In fact, you could be at the airport for quite some time waiting for your Uber or Lyft driver for a while, but now they are coming back and we're seeing better service. The Nevada Transportation Authority key budget enhancements, 3 new compliance enforcement investigator positions. These are really necessary because of the amount of special events, evenings and weekends that they work to be able to cover those. We are seeing everything from the Raiders and the stadium, the special events that are there, the convention events are coming back. Finally, we were about a year and a half ago only about 40%, and we're now seeing about 60 to 70% because of the lag time in bringing those events back. 2 administrative assistant positions to help with licensing and servicing and working on the administrative side of the applications and investigations that we are doing with the Nevada Transportation Authority. The Office of Labor Commissioner, major responsibilities are enforcing private sector employment laws, minimum wage and overtime, breaks and lunches, deductions, employee practices, employment of minors. They also oversee public works projects, prevailing wage and Apprenticeship Utilization Act. We issue public works project numbers. We calculate prevailing wage to make sure that it's being paid correctly. Apprenticeship Utilization Act, so that there's a requirement to have apprenticeships with those projects to make sure that they have that. We also do a lot of waivers for those that if they don't or can't find apprenticeships for certain programs, we have a waiver program for that. We enforce and investigate potential violations. We impose penalties and disqualification. We oversee private employment agencies. These are licensed and regulate what we call temporary staffing agencies within the state. We have the Nevada State Apprenticeship Program, which was moved back over to us. And we have a very good apprenticeship executive director that we hired. She has worked with both 2 large construction companies within the area and handled apprenticeships. So we were able to get somebody who was very knowledgeable on the construction side of working with apprenticeships. Statistics during 22, wage complaints. We had 4,500 claim wage. We collected $1.2 million for workers. Penalties collected was approximately $200,000. As I indicated, that $200,000, that goes back into the general fund, doesn't go back into the agency. Prevailing wage claims, we had 222 claims. Wages collected under the prevailing wage were additional $299,000, just under $300,000 for workers. Penalties assessed, $226,000. Penalties collected go directly to, as I indicated, to the general fund. We issued just a little over 1,000 public works project numbers. We had administrative fines, penalties, about $450,900. Penalties collected go, like I said, directly to the general fund. Private employment agencies, licensing of those, 158. Professional employer organizations, 186. Apprenticeship, there were 6,198 apprentices. We did have with 747 employers and 62 registered programs. We anticipate that growing considerably with infrastructure dollars coming into the state. The Office of Labor Commissioner Enhancement is a cloud-based software as a service solution on online submission, processing, and management of professional employer organizations. This was done through Senate Bill 55 and passed during the 81 regular session in 21, and then transfer the responsibility and accounting from DIR to the Labor Office. So current tracking is done manually. But we want to get a case management system so we can track that. Not a very expensive system, but a very necessary system to be able to be efficient. Employee Management Relations Board. This board, it works very hard in terms of being able to look at labor practices. It's one of our smallest agencies. We have Bruce Snyder, who's our executive director for the EMRB. Marisu, his executive assistant. Both of those positions are selected by the board to work on cases. The board acts as the administrative court resolving disputes over unfair labor practices, the scope of bargaining units, and which employee organizations, if any, to represent employees. So we represent state government, local governments, employee organizations, so 18,000 state government employees and 90,000 local employees in terms of their issues. The board has hearings. Hearings before the entire board, or they work in panels statewide. Very efficient. So we have 5 part-time board members appointed by the governor and 3 full-time staff, as I indicated. EMRB does not resolve grievances. Those are resolved through process detailed in each of their collective bargaining agreements. So, I will tell you that Mr. Snyder, who's done an incredible job there, he has basically all the agencies' reported decisions now are included in the Legislative Council Bureau's Nevada Law Library on a CD. So he has uploaded all those decisions so you can go through. That really has been a benefit to the board. So if they want to research cases, they can go back excuse me, and do that. No, no budget enhancements here. Attorney for Injured Workers. Excuse me. They provide legal representation to injured workers seeking worker compensation benefits. They provide general and procedural information to the public. These are generally cases on appeal. They handle, usually represent about 900 cases a year with our group. So the NA, Attorney for Injured Workers, consists of attorneys, excuse me, legal assistants, and they work all the way through the appeals process, all the way up to the Supreme Court. This last year they prevailed in about 74% of the cases, which is pretty incredible. In the last 5 years, their average is somewhat over 50% in prevailing of cases. So that concludes all of our agencies. As I indicated, try to get through that rather quickly. It's a lot. So, and I apologize for the rapid going through that, but I'm happy to answer any questions and go through this, through our questions in a little more detail. I would indicate that we have all of our agency heads either down in Southern Nevada or here in the room with me. So we're happy to answer any questions and have them come up if you would like.
Thank you very much, and that was a lot of really good information, and your voice wouldn't have lasted one more minute. So, Assemblywoman Hadagi, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hello, Director. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Thank you for being here. I just had a couple of questions. First, I have a question regarding the real estate division. I know they had a bill last session to update some of their IT, and the funds were set to expire June of this year. So if they weren't used, they were going to have to revert back to the general fund. So I've been in constant contact with the real estate division, and I know the project's already ongoing, but being good stewards of the money, they have not paid the vendor until the project's complete. Do you know if that is in the GFO's budget and if the GFO is working on a BDR, or how is that going to be handled?
Terry Reynolds, for the record, Director of Business and Industry. Yes, it is. We are going through and working with that. We went through a selection process for a vendor. We spent a lot of time on it because we had a wide variety in terms of the costs for that vendor, but we also wanted to make sure we had somebody that actually had done a project and was experienced in it and worked with successful real estate divisions throughout the country to be able to modernize their systems. And so we were able to find a good vendor to be able to do that, and that is in progress now.
Okay, correct. But it's my understanding that the real estate division, and I appreciate that they're doing this because we've seen other state agencies pay upfront for IT modernization and then not get the project completed. So I appreciate that you guys are holding off on paying the vendor until the project is complete. But I don't think the project's going to be complete in time. The bill said the money had to be spent before January 2023. So what's the solution? I just want to know so that if you guys need some help, we can help.
Okay. Well, we have a BDR to basically extend the allocation of those funds so that we can go through and make sure that we are able to cover the costs, and those funds will be there when we finish the project. So, but it is ongoing. It's so far successful and moving through, and we're getting good handle on the services that need to be done through the vendor.
Okay, thank you. And one more question, Chair, if I could. And then my second question was regarding Home is Possible. So I sat through one of Rhonda Tolbert's presentations regarding Home is Possible and the extra money that was being put in to help homeowners with down payment assistance. Right. Can you walk me through how much money is available in that grant and if it's actually being used? A lot of the feedback I received was that the income qualification limits were too low and not that many Nevadans were able to take advantage of the down payment assistance program. So can you let me know approximately how much money is left in that grant program and if there is considerations to increase the income requirements?
Terry Reynolds, Director for Business Industry. Mr. Acroft is in the audience here, and I'm going to have him come up and answer that question. Thank you.
You thought you were going to sit there quietly. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Steve Acroft, Administrator of the Nevada Housing Division, for the record. Assemblywoman Howdigi, so the Home is Possible program has federal limitations on it. And some of that is related to our bonds that support the program, and some of it is related to the ARPA funding that has come in. So while we would love to expand the program because it is fairly limited, we cannot do that through the restrictions that are put upon us. We have made an adjustment in the ARPA program. Most ARPA funding is tied to 65% AMI. But you can go up to 300% of poverty level, and I don't know what that number is, but it's greater than 65% AMI. So we're pretty much at the max we can do right now.
Do you know how much money is left in that grant program?
We haven't had a whole lot of activity there yet. We are working through that. If I remember correctly, from the ARPA standpoint, I think it was $7.5 million. And I think we have less than currently about 50 applicants going through that process.
Okay, thank you. And do those funds have an expiration date?
As was indicated in the previous testimony with tourism, they need to be obligated by 2024, expended by 2026.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll go to Senator Neal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm going to take two slides together, slide 8 and slide 31. So on slide 8, you were discussing how looking for qualified employees and the no-shows. And what I was wondering is, in order to kind of build the bench, are we looking at maybe trying to do more training opportunities through WEX, which WEX is the WIOA fund, or part of the program that allows for internship. And then you also have OJT dollars, right, which would allow you to bring in someone at least for enough time to train them into the position, see if they're interested. This would allow, number one, dislocated workers, college students, folks who might have the opportunity. Now, WEX makes B&I have to pay, right, whatever that salary is, but it's reduced because they're in a training component. But it might be a way for you to, number one, consider bringing in younger folks into the agency, allowing them to qualify under a different criteria so they can get their feet wet, see if this is something they want to do within the framework of a federal program that might allow some reimbursement of costs, et cetera, et cetera. On page 31, I was looking at the legal representative for the workers' comp, and that's always been an area where, you know, a lot of our Nevada citizens don't have enough money. And thinking once again on a workforce pipeline, right, a public interest law pipeline, and maybe working with the law school in order to try to build some public interest relationship there so that there is at least a workforce pipeline for the legal representative who really is serving as an attorney for citizens who can't afford it. Are we at least having those conversations and thinking outside of the box on how do we build the bench with the current talent pool that is graduating in these two areas?
Terry Reynolds for the record, Business and Industry. Let me start with the NAIW. We work very closely with Boyd School of Law. In fact, we get a lot of, most of our attorneys through that, and we're hiring them as a legal assistant or a paralegal so they can work with us, and then once they get through the bar, they're promoted to a full attorney. So yes, we are doing that, and that has been very successful for us. I'm going to have my deputy director, interim deputy director, Perry Fagan, come up and talk to you about some of the training programs that we are doing, especially with the military, to be able to get people into our jobs through B&I. So Perry.
Good morning, Perry Fagan for the record, interim deputy director with Business and Industry. One of the internship programs that we are currently operating through Business and Industry with a couple of our divisions is the SkillBridge program through the Department of Defense. This program was recently provided as a way for us to bring in some of the skilled positions as military personnel are getting ready to exit their service. So for the last 6 months of their service, they are able to come in. The DoD provides them with financial support. We put them into a position where they're able to intern and learn, and then they have the opportunity then to move into the position that they are currently in by applying for that position. We currently have, I believe, 2 people currently working through the Division of Industrial Relations. One just recently went through the program, was in the program for about 45 days to 2 months, and is currently looking at what his options are, whether he wants to stay with the state or move on. So we are looking at these internship programs and doing the best that we can to provide opportunities.
And thank you for that. That's awesome, right? I just want to see if you can create it, what is happening on the DoD side, just create a separate one for existing employees that are dislocated or high school. Well, they wouldn't be some are high school graduates, but also college students, and using that WIOA. Workforce is one of our benchmark, I guess, issues in the state, and we need to start drawing the circle, right, and connecting the dots with the workforce goals that we have on one end with the state agency need on the other, right, and the citizens who need to be plugged in, and it's possible. I'm not going to leave this alone, but it's
I'll talk to you after, but I seriously want you to have this conversation. The next question that I had, though, was on slide 13. And the home is possible was brought up earlier by Assemblywoman Hodeggy, but I wanted to know the special programs for teachers and veterans, how that's working, because, and also if you guys would consider adding maybe, I don't know if you have a BDR, but dealing with the residents, doctors who are trying to look for homes as well. Because what I'm hearing more often is that residents are making the decision as they're going to their last year of whether or not they're going to stay here or not. And because they cannot afford a current property and there are no programs set aside for a resident to try to get down payment assistance because the income guidelines are too low for a resident that is leaving Turo, whether or not they're leaving UNR or any other medical program that we have here. And so, you know, and this is a way to try to keep what we're training in the state by offering them programs.
Let me address that. I think it's important. This is Terry Reynolds, Director for the Department of Business and Industry. We've had very good success with our teacher program, where we help with down payment assistance. And if a teacher stays within a community, especially in a rural area, for over 5 years, we'll forgive that portion of that loan. And so that has been a very successful program for us. In addition to that, we have assistance for mortgage assistance for veterans, which basically takes down several percent of the cost of their mortgage for a period of time. So that really helps them get into housing for that. All of those meet basically the income requirements for for doctors or for professional positions that are hard to keep within the community or hard to find housing. We'd have to look at that to see if we won't get into problems with the income limits as they progress in their profession. But we are have been very successful for the down payment assistance programs that we've operated. Like I said, both in the rural areas where there's where they have done for teachers and for veterans. So, and we plan on continuing those programs, especially now as interest rates are creeping up considerably. Although for some of us that bought houses a long time ago, we're in a very comfortable range still. But for others that have not seen 6%, 7% interest rates, it's daunting. So we're trying to look at that to see what we can do, but we are involved in those programs, and we'll try to expand them as we go forward in the future.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Reynolds, for reminding me that I thought 10 or 11% was a really good rate.
That's right.
We'll go to Senator Titus, and then we'll go to Senator Gansert, and then we'll wrap this up so that we don't hold General Berry any longer.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair, and mine should be just quick questions. First, thank you for numbering your pages so that we can refer back to them. On page 25, the Nevada Transportation Authority, just curious questions, and you can get me this information afterwards. You did the list of the laundry list, literally, of who you do regulate, but what's not on there, and I'm curious who does regulate these, are the charter buses. Are they part of like the tour buses? Is that what you would include?
Terry Reynolds for the record, yes, that is correct. Charter buses that operate within the state, not from out of state, so it's not interstate commerce.
Yeah.
But charter buses that run in the state are regulated by us.
Okay, what about the mine buses that take their employees out to mine sites?
Those are regulated by us too.
Okay, and finally, school bus drivers, school buses.
Not by us, because those are really regulated. There's an exemption for education in school buses, also like RTC, their buses, those are exempt. So we do not regulate those.
They're exempt by NRS?
By NRS and by federal statute.
And by federal statute. All right, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Senator Gansert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I wanted to go back to the tax-exempt bonds that are used for housing, and it sounded like we had about $250 million, $225 to $250 a year, typically, and that maybe some of them were unused, and so I think you said the balance was like $750 million or something like that. So I was trying to figure out if those credits, if they have been unused, and for what reason, and then also if they're being used in the stack of funding with the Home Means Nevada dollars.
Okay, two separate questions here. Terry Reynolds for the record. First is that we are allowed to carry over our volume cap, we call it volume cap authorization, on a calendar year, comes to us on a calendar year basis based on the state's population. We can carry that over for 3 years, and we pretty much will be able to use all of it all the time. We have, in the last 10 years, I don't think we have let very much of that allocation slip by. It may be very, 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 very slight, but we have used almost 100% during that 3-year window. We do use it to stack with the RPA, Home Means Nevada Initiative funding. So we do use it in concert with that. And that's something that we are looking at with the projects that we work with, especially with local government entities, with Clark County, Washoe County, when they do, when they allocate their funds, because they have separate ARPA funding, that we can work with them to be able to get the most bang for the buck in helping them finish their projects. So we have an overall list that goes from the last time we discussed this. We were able to fund down past that initial list of projects because we have the $226 million authorization that went into additional funds with our volume cap allocation. So yes, we use 100% of it these days, and we do match additional projects that go through. So we work with developers in terms of making sure that if they have gaps, that we use the ARPA funding for, but generally the housing funds are basically revenue bonds. The private entities work with and pay off for that. So we're been very successful in doing that. And it's allowed us to double the amount of projects that we would normally have within a fiscal year.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And one last question from Assemblywoman Kasama.
Thank you so much, Chair, for the indulgence. Good to see you again, Director Reynolds. Quick question, under the Nevada Housing Division, you had a section there where you said the housing database reporting where people can go and look for rentals that are available. Who is posting their rentals to that site?
I'm going to have Mr. Acroft come up and give you a more complete explanation of how that works.
Quick, sorry.
Steve Acroft, Administrator of the Nevada Housing Division. Thank you for the question. First off, it's nvhousingsearch.org. And I have an employee back at the division who, if I don't plug this, nvhousingsearch.org at least 3 times, is going to chastise me for not bringing it up. So that's nvhousingsearch.org. So there's a couple of things that occur for the listings. Number one is anybody who receives funding from the division, whether it be through tax credits, bonding authority, grants, they are required to list on that site. So it has all our affordable properties on that site. Other entities can add to that site if they choose to. It's not required because we can only have the stick, if you will, if they receive the funding from us. It's very simple to do. It's very simple to update. It's done through a national company that does this database in, I don't know how many states, but I believe, 20 or 30 states.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you to this team for being here today. I know that was a lot of work and information. So thank you very much. And we will move on to General Barry. Thank you for being so patient as we've run behind a little bit today.
Madam Chair, we do
Yeah.
have handouts available if you would
Thank
like
you.
us to distribute them at this time.
Thank you. And when you're ready, sir, please go ahead. It's a pleasure to see you again.
Thank you very much. Major General Andre Berry, Nevada National Guard, Officer of the Military. Also have with me today Chief Dave Fogerson, who's our Department of Emergency Management Chief, and our State Administrator, Cheryl Tyler. First of all, I just want to say to each of you, thank you for your service. We hear that a lot, but I know what y'all have to go to also, so thank you for your service and all that you do. I come here today representing 4,700 members of the Nevada National Guard. I always like to start off by saying your Nevada National Guard is very healthy as an organization. First of all, the mission of the Office of the Military is to enlist, organize, arm, equip, and train the state's military. We have three missions. It's the federal mission, which is the warfight, the homeland mission, or domestic operations, what we'll call it, and then we have state partnerships. As my role as the Adjutant General is to provide administrative oversight for the organization, which consists of the Nevada Army National Guard, Nevada Air National Guard, Department of Emergency Management, and our state employees. I also will say that we provide to the state what our civil support team. We also have our counter-drug, DEM. We also are getting into our cyber efforts, and we also have youth programs. I also want to say that we can respond to pretty much anything that the governor asks us to respond to, as if it meets within the guidelines of an emergency. Our vision, which I talk about a lot, is our soldiers and airmen providing hope and service. We're really on the front lines as support to this great state of Nevada, and it's provided through safety, unity, and integrity. I say that because I look at where the world is today, and one of the things we work very hard on in the military is to make sure that we're a shining example for how we should exemplify and do our work. If you look at the next slide, it's just our facilities. Sometimes our citizens don't know that we're all around the state and in the rural areas also, and this will give you just a quick picture of all the locations and some of the missions and facilities that we have throughout the state. And not when I talk about also facilities, one of the things that are very important to us right now is we are growing as an organization. And so everything that we have, we need and more. If you go to the next slide, it just talks about just briefly our strategic priorities, and it always ends and starts with readiness. Just recently returned from Romania, and you have some outstanding military police. They're in a war zone, and I think I can say this publicly because this is not a secret. They're about 7 minutes from a missile strike, and when we talk to the garrison commander, it takes about 15 minutes to get to a bunker. So sometimes people just don't realize the harm's way that our military members are in. We also have personnel in Qatar, Jordan, Kuwait, Germany, and Africa. So care of our members is very huge in terms of what we ask them to do. Also, if you look at one of our priorities, diversity, equity, and inclusion, because we believe that if you're a citizen of our state, are you qualified to be in the military? We take whosoever will. If you will take an oath and swore to defend the Constitution of the United States, we will take you into our organization. Also, we talk about community. We are a community-based organization, and that is really critical in terms of us being visible and being out there. And we'll talk a little bit about that with some of our initiatives. And then the last one is development. We put a lot of time and attention into developing the force. Our state, our families, our leaders, we're better when we develop them. On the right side, we talk about the health of the force. And over the last 2 years, I know a lot of people will look at what we do around the COVID operations, but we've had 9 deployments around the world over the last 2 years. And we have now created a directorate to take care of our people, because one of the things you find in the military, and you'll hear this, there's a big challenge to get people to join now, not just from the standpoint of qualifications, but also in terms of what you're asked to do in this profession. But you will hear that we do very good in terms of recruiting. In our DEOX, which is put on by the Defense Equal Opportunity Military Institute, where you take a anonymous survey of how your force is doing, we improved in every single area in the Army side and the majority of the areas on the air side. So the culture is very good. We also, when we talk about our state partnerships, we just found out recently one of our partnerships is with Fiji, another one is with Tonga, and we just found out we secured Samoa, which is in the South Pacific. So that is great news for the state of Nevada. And they want to, these 3 countries want to take a whole of government approach. And so you'll hear us not just talking about how we can work with them on a military side, but also from a business and industry, also from learning technology. They want to work more with our state government. So you'll see more of Nevada being involved in the South Pacific with our state government. We also have a high school in Carlin. It's called the Battleborn Youth Challenge Academy. We have 59 students in there right now. So they will be there in the 5-month program, and they will either graduate high school or they will integrate, go back into the school system for their respective area that they live in the state. Also, we have 2 Starbase campuses, one in Henderson and one in Reno. And Starbase is a STEM program where we bring 5th graders in. If they meet the criteria of a Title I school, then they're bussed in, and they go from 5 weeks. They go 1 day a week to learn STEM, and it's certified teachers. We have MOUs with the Clark County School District and the Washoe County School District. We also have adopted 2 schools, one north and one south, recently in the state of Nevada. We are the top 5 in the nation in recruiting. So when a lot of the other 53 states, territories, and districts are struggling with recruiting, we are doing very well with recruiting. We also have a signature course we call Purple Resolve, which is a course where we really want to talk about how we give them more balance and readiness. If you know, in the military profession, if you think about mental wellness and mental health, suicides and things like that, it became important for us to put together an initiative where we can take care of the individual, and we allow their significant others and spouses to come to the course. We now have this course in over 10 states. It's been looked at by the White House, and so we also thank the state for the funding that you've provided for us to continue to this initiative, and also how we take care of the force. We're also in the top 5 in the nation in medical readiness, which again, just let you know, your state is healthy in terms of your military, not just what they do across the globe, but also what they do within the state, and also what they do in the South Pacific. One of the things that I am working on, hopefully to have by the time within the month of the legislature starting, is to show the value proposition of your National Guard. Recently, just today, I actually talked to my chief of staff. We're looking at plans of how to grow the Guard from 1,000 to 1,700 over the next few years. And to take that, it's going to require infrastructure, it's going to require support, it's going to require resources. And so when we cut, our ask are not because of the challenges we have in terms of problems, our challenges are the ability to grow. And I have a different hat. I think about quality of life. I think about jobs. I think about resources. I think about how we can help the tax base. And so your Nevada Military Department is doing everything it can to better support not just what we do from a military side, but also be a value add to the state as a whole. So we look forward to going through the presentation today, but just letting you know from a foundational standpoint that your military is in a very good place. At this time, I'll turn it over to our state administrator.
Good morning, Cheryl Title for the record. I'm the ASO for Office of the Military. So this next slide shows, on top of what we received in our budget accounts, in our state budget accounts, the Nevada Air Guard receives about 78 million federal funds per federal fiscal year. The Army National Guard receives about 100 million federal funds per fiscal year. Office of the Military state employees provide administrative, accounting, personnel, firefighting, security, range operations, family services programs assistance, environmental, project management, operating and maintenance services to the Nevada National Guard for all the facilities assigned to the Office of the Military. The agency also has 3 youth programs, as Tag mentioned, youth program in National Guard youth program in Carlin, a Sierra Star Base in Reno, and Star Base Henderson in southern Nevada. A master cooperative agreement is established between the National Guard Bureau and the state through Office of the Military. The MCA includes all terms and conditions related to NGB's federal funds contribution for the operations and training of the Nevada Army and Air National Guard. There are currently 15 appendices as shown on the slide, 13 of which are 100% federal reimbursed. Cooperative agreements for the youth programs are also established for the operations of the 3 youth programs within our agency. Youth Challenge is 75% federal reimbursed, while the 2 star-based programs are 100% federal reimbursed. First budget account is 3650. The funds are utilized for the operation and maintenance of the Nevada Air and Army facilities throughout the state and for the operations of our youth programs. First major enhancement unit we'll bring up is E125, which funds to hire 2 National Guard range specialist positions and associated operating costs to support the maintenance operations of a new National Guard firing range in southern Nevada. Range construction is projected to be completed by end of April 2024. Hence, the staffing and operational costs are requested for beginning of May 2024. Army Regulations TC3-20.40 requires all soldiers to qualify on their assigned weapon. Currently, there's no range within our state, so there's a CIP proposed to request to build a range in southern Nevada. There are approximately 2,000 soldiers in southern Nevada. Weapons qualification takes approximately 2 days each. The 2 range specialists are required to operate the range and equipment each day of operation. This range specialists will also assist with managing and operating the National Guard simulation systems that are prerequisite to conducting a live fire range. Next decision unit requests for 3 military security officer 2 to support increased security services for the Reno Air Base in Reno. These positions are 100% federal reimbursed. Next decision unit requests for 3 additional facility staff and operating costs for the new Camp Washwood site. Office of the Military acquired a site previously owned by UNR called Navy Operations Center. The site consists of 3 structures with a total of square foot of 34,380. These new positions will handle the operational needs that is required to maintain facilities in northern Nevada. The site is projected to be operational by August 2024. Next decision unit requests 5 additional personnel for Office of the Military. Office of the Military has grown with the implementation of new programs such as Youth Challenge, Starbase, Family Services, Range, and Mental Health, and has a new division under the department, which is Division of Emergency Management. Agency needs additional support staff at the Director's Office or State Administration to meet the needs that come with the expansion of agency operations. Next decision unit requests for Custodial Supervisor 1 and worker for Southern Nevada. Office of Military has a total cleaning area of about 337,000 square foot in Southern Nevada, and this 2 additional custodial positions will bring the average to 37,485 square foot per custodial staff. Next decision unit requests funds to hire 1 cybersecurity specialist to provide planning and response capabilities relating to cyber attacks within the state. This position will provide a cyber capability to the state that would legally be able to interface with state cyber governmental organizations in order to build expertise and leverage the Nevada National Guard cyber capabilities. This would build unity of effort across state enterprise in order to rapidly support a cyber attack in order to defend the networks. Additionally, cyber position would facilitate the ability to conduct vulnerability assessments in partnerships with other state agencies. This would facilitate the rapid buildup of a complete cyber response force in case of an emergency. Next decision unit requests for a psychological health manager position in Northern Nevada. The primary purpose of this position is to provide preventive, remedial, and support services aimed at improving and sustaining the psychological health of National Guard military members and their families. Next are one-shot appropriations deck units. First is E730, which requests funds for facilities maintenance projects for Nevada National Guard facilities throughout the state. These projects will ensure the health and safety of personnel and public utilizing the National Guard facilities. It funds minor building renovations, repairs, maintenance, preventive maintenance, and building asset replacements of Office of the Military facilities. Next decision unit is E710, which requests funds for replacement equipment for facilities maintenance, and E720 requests for new equipment for facilities maintenance. Next is budget account 3653. This budget account, Military National Guard Benefits Program, encourages the recruitment and retention of active members of the National Guard. The Adjutant General may authorize payment up to 100% of the credit hour costs incurred within the Nevada systems of higher education for any member, any Guardsman attending summer school as a full or part-time student. Conditions are reimbursement is dependent upon the Guard member being in a good standing and receiving a grade of C or better. Next budget account is budget account 3654. This Military Patriot Relief Fund provides funds to reimburse Nevada National Guardsmen for college textbooks and service members' group life insurance premiums. It also provides funds to assist soldiers and their families in terms of financial hardships. Next slide is a list of the 8 CIPs that the Office of Military is requesting in the upcoming biennium. Up next is Chief Ferguson for Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security.
Good morning, everyone. David Fogerson for the record. I'm the Division Administrator for Emergency Management and Homeland Security for the state of Nevada. We have 3 budget accounts to discuss with you today. 3673, which funds the Division of Emergency Management. 3674, which is our grant pass-through that we provide the federal grants to our local government and nonprofit partners, and then 3675 that funds the Office of Homeland Security. Nevada Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security is Nevada's disaster coordinating partner. We try to make sure that we are in everyone's community, that we know all the local government partners, we know all the state partners, that way we can be that coordinating piece. We're not in charge of anything. We're going to become completely responsible for it in the end. But in the front side, all we are is about how do we make friends, how do we share the funds, how do we make sure that everyone is planned, prepared, and ready for that disaster to occur. Our vision really is to build resilience through coordination and partnerships, and we do that by outreach to all the local communities and then our state agencies and getting everyone engaged and involved in a good discussion about how do we make tomorrow so that way Nevada, our residents and our tourists are more resilient than they are today. We obviously have a mission and values, and all these have been developed over the last 18 months. Actually, through the COVID process, it was kind of a nice way to distract the employees' attentions as we're running the Nevada Operations Center to work on their strategic planning process. And we had multiple meetings, and we had whiteboards up where the employees got to talk about what was important to them that they were seeing in real life while managing COVID, while managing the Caldor fire, while managing the Tamarack fire, and able to actually produce a nice strategic plan for us. So our values are stewardship, because we are not here for us. I'm not here for me. I'm here for us, and we're here for them. And that's the mission of our department. We are not here for me. I am not. We are here for us, and we are here for them, because it is all about the public that we serve. Integrity, innovation, collaboration, and obviously teamwork. And that's where it's been great in the last biennium, being part of the Office of Military, to make sure that we continue those great partnerships that we see on our side. This also developed 3 goals for our organization. We want to actively cultivate a diverse and professional emergency management workforce who embodies integrity, collaboration, and innovation. And this is not just at the state level. This is in our school districts. This is in our cities. This is in our counties. This is in our nonprofit communities that we engage with to make sure that we have professional emergency managers. COVID has shown everyone what emergency management is. Before COVID, no one knew what emergency management really did. In fact, I think you would ask many emergency managers, they weren't sure what they did before COVID. And so now we want to make sure that we have that right workforce for our future. We want to strengthen Nevada by supporting the development and improvement of capabilities, capacities, and communications. Again, not all through our efforts, but through our coordination efforts to get all of our partners so that way we make Nevada better. And we lead and coordinate the equitable delivery of emergency management resources and services to the whole community. This is especially important to us. If you look back to Katrina, where people got left in the town and not evacuated. Same thing happened during the Caldor fire. Some people got left in South Lake Tahoe and not evacuated. When you look at COVID, some people did not have access to resources they needed. So for us, that diversity, equity, and inclusion is not only about our hiring practices and our employment practices, but also about how we do emergency management for every resident and every visitor in the state of Nevada. Our division's pretty small but mighty. We have 40 full-time employees right now and some contractors that we'll talk about. We work directly for Major General Barry as the State Adjutant General as a state active duty employee. And then we have 2 divisions, or 2 sections within our division. Really, an operations side that's run by our Deputy Administrator, John Backadall. And this is where we do planning, training, exercise. We get the emergency support functions together in the Nevada Operations Center. This is where you see DPS, NDOT, Office of Cyber Defense, INTAC, all the agencies, including, it was really nice to hear from the Housing Division today because he has been on every call about COVID and every weekly brief talking about how we get people back to their homes and that recovery and that support function. So it really is that whole government approach, and that's what the operations side does for us, is get all those partners together. And then we have the fiscal side, which works on finance and grants. And this is a change that we did in the last 2 years thanks to efforts from last biennium. We consolidated the grants and finance divisions because they weren't talking very well together. And so we've consolidated them together under the single leadership of our CFO, Jared Franco, so that way we can actually move that money quicker, faster, and be a little more accountable for it in our operations. We do have a number of public bodies. We have 2 that are led by the governor, the Homeland Security Commission, and then his appointee for the Committee on Finance. And this is kind of the gold standard public body that we deal with every day. Then we have the government developed, which is a recently developed one on cybersecurity. Cybersecurity, you heard earlier from business and industry, you heard from General Barry, everyone has a piece of cybersecurity. And so the cybersecurity task force is designed to get everyone together at the table from local governments, our schools, our health community, the state, so that way we can all have a conversation about where is cybersecurity, what is cybersecurity, who's doing what, and how do we get grant funding to do those different programs, and how do we add some efficiencies from them working together. We have 2 committees that were developed through the NRS 414 Emergency Preparedness Working Group. This enables us to get some counties that the state receives money for radiological monitoring from the Department of Energy. This group gets together so that way we can get those funds out to those counties that get those funds and make sure that it's equitable delivery to all of them. And we have a hazard mitigation working group. We're one of the few states nationally that has an enhanced hazard mitigation plan. Because one of the things we're trying to do is buy down that risk for tomorrow. How do we move that house out of the floodplain? How do we make that roadway better so the next time that road doesn't flood? How do we make it so that way post-fire we don't have that flood that goes through the Tamarack Scar and washes out Highway 395, closing that roadway down? Mitigation is a big component of what we're trying to do for our future. And then NRS mandates that we have a Nevada Resilience Advisory Committee. And this is probably the fun one because this is about 40 people on this committee to give my position advice and counsel. And we meet once a quarter where we have representatives across our enterprise come and talk to us and we discuss various issues. Then we have the Nevada Tribal Emergency Coordinating Council. This has a seat available for every tribe in the state of Nevada to be able to give myself and our division the same emergency management advice that we get from the Resilience Advisory Commission or Council, but looking at it from the lens of the tribal nations. And we do employ 2 tribal coordinators at the state and through a nice partnership we have with the Division of Public and Behavioral Health, one working on public health preparedness, one working on emergency management. Then we have the State Disaster Identification Coordination Committee, and you'll hear more about that this session because we do have a bill to try to clean up some of that language for that committee. This committee is really designed for post-disaster. How do we identify the remains of people? How do we get victims reunified with their families that might not have their identifications? If you remember 1 October, people were taken to the hospital by different means, and a lot of their IDs, their cell phones, and everything were left on scene. And so how do we identify that person? How do we get that information back so when a family member calls up and says, where is Major General Barry, we can help find what hospital he's at, and hopefully never has to go to the hospital. We have the Nevada Interstate Mutual Aid Committee, and this was formed a few sessions ago, and this works out really well for us because instead of having to have mutual aid agreements with every state agency and with every local government agency, you've given us the power to have every local government state agency in a mutual aid plan already. Tribal nations are able to opt into that mutual aid plan, and local governments have to opt out of that mutual aid plan. Right now we have 4 tribes that have opted in, and no local governments have opted out, and this really helps us during the Caldor fire. We were able to move resources from southern Nevada up to northern Nevada, and they covered Lake Tahoe, so that way those Lake Tahoe fire agencies could go to the fire, whereas southern Nevada firefighters weren't able to go to the fire because they lacked that wildland fire training, but they're able to still run the medical calls, the structure fire calls, the technical rescue calls, all the other stuff here at home. And so it was a great example of how we use that committee to move those resources around. And then we also have the State Search and Rescue Board. While the sheriff of each county is responsible for search and rescue, we're the state agency responsible to help coordinate their activities. We do identify a number of threats. Obviously, cybersecurity is probably the top of mind for a lot of folks right now. And then we have those other no-notice events like earthquakes. And a great picture here from Wells, our last major earthquake that had significant damage. But Nevada does have a single reported death from an earthquake. Only 1 person has died in Nevada from an earthquake, and that earthquake actually happened in California, and the death was in Nye County from a gentleman that was working underneath a car that fell on top of him when he was underneath it. So we've got a good history of not a lot of fatalities, but we can't forget the unreinforced masonry buildings that we have throughout the state, and what is going to happen and how do we get those resources for that. Obviously, wildfire is a huge issue for us in the state of Nevada. Flood, like we've seen the potential for already this year. And that winter storm, especially when it's coupled with a power outage like we had at the start of the year. Pandemic, and then that criminal active shooter, that complex coordinated terrorist attack that's always on everyone's big minds that should that ever occur. And then each year we identify risks that we want to buy down. And we work through this with our partners to identify these items. And these are really complicated federal terms that they use. But this year we're looking for operational coordination. How do we get all of us to play better in our sandbox together? Operational communications. How do we make sure we can all talk to one another? We do have one rural county that has 4 disparate radio systems. So how do we get that fire department talking to the police department, talking to the sheriff's department, talking to their ambulance company when they're all on different radio systems? And then supply chain integrity. And this is in here not only for the supply chain integrity that you're thinking of, but also think about that electrical issue we had at the beginning of the year. That is supply chain integrity, just like trying to get the parts to build a computer chip. We work on the mantra that all incidents are locally executed, state guided, and federally supported. We don't want to overstep our bounds by forcing our local partners to do anything, but we are there tapping on their shoulders, leaning forward and making sure that they're ready and they know what's going on, and we're here to help them. And then this slide just goes through all the stuff we've dealt with in the last 2 years that I've kind of highlighted through the speech. And it gives you an idea of how busy we are, but how little you hear from us because we got great partners that are taking care of business. So the big thing we do is that coordination piece. We also run a 24-hour duty officer who takes all those calls from all of our partners when they need help. We run the Nevada Operations Center. So when the duty officer gets overwhelmed, when that incident gets bigger and we need to bring in those emergency support functions and those recovery support functions, and we need to start talking about housing, we need to talk about evacuations, we need to talk about sheltering, we need to talk about health care. This is where we open the Nevada Operations Center and we bring in all those subject matter experts from those state agencies to help us. We also manage this incident management assistant teams and that interoperable communication piece of how do those different agencies talk to one another. We do tribal emergency coordination. We provide funding to a lot of our local partners, but a lot of our tribes are too rural and too small to actually fund an emergency manager themselves. And so through a partnership with Division of Public and Behavioral Health, both of us apply a contract employee that one works on an emergency management side, one works on public health preparedness side. So that way every tribal nation has got them to rely upon for their emergency manager without having to hire one in a remote community that maybe not be able to afford one. And then radiological readiness. We have the king of radiation for the state, John Backadall, is your deputy. He, if you want to know something about radiation, this gentleman is the person who knows it all. And then those grants, whether it's a Homeland Security grant, a cybersecurity grant, emergency management, Department of Energy, hazard mitigation, or the post-disaster assistance. And this is where we're spending a lot of time right now. We have $137 million worth of open grants for COVID that's going to our local government, the state government, and our nonprofit partners. We've been able to reimburse $57 million as of this morning, and we're just waiting on the documentations from our partners to reimburse the remainder. So we had 7 budget goals when we built the budget this year. Some of these we did meet, some of these we did not meet. Our first budget goal was to build state capacity to reduce reliance on a third-party in-kind grant match to federal funding. We weren't able to quite meet that goal, so that way we still have to rely upon local government partners to supply the grant match for us. We want to transition our long-term contractors to state full-time equivalent employees. We have one employee that's worked for the division for 11 years in contract status. To me, that you're sub-authority, and so we want to move those employees over to full-time employment status and not have them as contractors to get around different rules. We need to update the Nevada Operations Center. It's not currently ADA compliant, and so we want to do some work to fix that system up. We want to fund the statewide New Year's Eve mission that we do with the Guard. We've had to go to the Interim Finance Committee for multiple years asking for that. This year it's in the governor's executive budget, asking for your approval so that way we don't have to come back to IFC for that. That is a huge win. We wanted to add a rural coordinator, GIS technician, and some fiscal support so that way we can shore up some areas that we know that we're lacking through these disasters. We weren't able to meet those goals. We want to create a host fund for food during incidents and exercises when we are using federal funds. Such as when we have the Guards members in at New Year's Eve, how do we feed them when we don't want them taking their weapons and their stuff into a casino for food? How do we feed that NDOT employee that's sitting on Highway 208 and there's no one else to go relieve him at the roadblock? And so we need to figure out a way to do that within the allowances of the state. And then we want to true up budget to reduce work programs with all of our grants. We're pretty stable on the grants now at the federal level, so we want to be able to reduce our work programs and true up some of those items. I'll turn it now over to our Chief Financial Officer, Jared Franco, who is our ASO 3.
Good afternoon, Jared Franco for the record, ASO 3 for the Division of Emergency Management, Homeland Security. I'll be discussing some of our major enhancements that we were requesting for this upcoming biennium, beginning with E367, which is the request for a full-time employee for the statewide 911 coordinator. The main roles for this position will be to coordinate and assist state and local government agencies in implementing next-generation 911 systems, provide legislative mandated oversight, and address 911 issues in regards to technological advancements. The next enhancement unit is E370, which is an increase in our operational category to pay for building rent. We currently share a space with the Nevada Division of Forestry. This summer, they'll be moving back in with their department, and we will be occupying that much-needed space for our staff. So the request is to increase our authority to pay the additional rent we will incur. The next enhancement unit, or the next 2 enhancement units, E373 and E374, are both requests for to create new positions for both of the tribal health and tribal emergency management coordinators that Chief Ogerson were talking about. They are both funded by federal health grant as of right now. Our request is to convert those contractors into full-time employees. The next enhancement unit is E376, and it's a request to increase our travel to what it was prior to COVID. As Chief was saying, the majority of our job is to do outreach and meet with our local jurisdictions. And Nevada is a pretty large state, which requires us to travel the majority of our time. The next enhancement we're requesting is for the E377, which is a statewide New Year's Eve mission. And this request is to create a permanent general fund authority to be able to fund New Year's Eve missions across the state in our jurisdictions that experience a massive increase in population during the New Year's Eve holiday. The next two enhancement units are also E378 and E379 are also a request to create new positions to convert current contractors to full-time employees. One of the contractors or one of the full-time employees, if approved, will be placed in our planning, training, and exercise section. The other one will be placed in our preparedness section. The next budget account we'll be talking about is budget account 3674. This budget account is a pass-through that we use to pay the local jurisdictions and nonprofits the monies they receive through the grants that they've applied and have been awarded. We don't have any enhancements in this budget account. Budget 3675 is our Homeland Security budget account. We have 4 FTEs that are currently under salary in this budget account, which is Chief Vogerson, Administrative Assistant 4, Management Analyst 2 that assists with the Homeland Security security checks, and NTAC Supervisor, which is the Nevada Fusion Center. And the only enhancement we have in this budget account is to also, as a request, also increase the travel to bring it to what it was prior to COVID as well. I'll pass it back to General Barry.
Right, thank you. Again, Major General Barry, Office of Military. I will say this before I open up for questions. One of the, at the last session, they put the Department of Emergency Management under the Office of Military, which nobody's asking, but I think it's one of the best decisions that were made. And we have a great collaboration and partnership. And one of the first mandates that I talked to the chief about is make sure the whole state knows the capabilities. And he's extremely visible and is working with the different entities and emergency managers and first responders, et cetera, to know the capabilities, and that we want to collaborate and be great partners. And they've been phenomenal at that. I'm actually surprised they didn't ask for twice as much in the budget, because that's just important. We are one incident away from something really challenging to happen to our state, but through prevention, intervention, communication, collaboration, partnership, we can mitigate that. And this is a critical area for us. And they've done a phenomenal job of really ramping up our capabilities and visibilities and working with the whole state. So if you went from where we were just 2 years ago to today, they've just made great strides. And so just want to publicly just thank them for what they've done. So your state is so much better off because of the professionalism and the preparation of your Department of Emergency Management. And I'll open it up for questions at this time.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I will start with Assemblywoman Anderson.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation, General Barry, and your team. Excuse me. My first question, I guess I have 2 or 3, is actually from page 8 of our presentation, which I believe would be slide 16, and it has to do with the major enhancement for E350. You mentioned the decision to request for a psychological health manager position, which I'm so happy that you are putting that much emphasis on mental health. That's wonderful. But it is for the Northern Nevada area, which is where I'm from. But what about the southern area as well, the rural? Will this individual be doing telehealth, or are there already positions for those individuals?
Major General Berry, Office of the Military. Last session, you granted us a position, and we put it in the southern part of the state. So this is kind of making the state whole. And yes, they are available to our soldiers and airmen statewide. So it's just us asking for equal resources in the north that we have down the south.
Thank you. I have two other questions.
Okay, and I will just alert the committee that we are approaching 12 o'clock and we have a 1 o'clock IFC meeting. So if we can do anything offline, that would be helpful.
So my other question, I promise will be very quick, has to do with the page 11, I think slide 22, that has to do with budget count 3654, the Patriot Relief Fund. Is this a new account, or is this something that's currently being utilized?
Good morning, Cheryl Tyler for the record. No, this is not a new account. It is an existing account.
Great, and I'll ask my follow-up questions offline if I could. Thank you again for the presentation.
Thank you very much. Senator Neal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just had a quick question on the New Year's Eve statewide funding that you're seeking. What is the city and county portion related to New Year's Eve events? Because it's not all on the state, or it shouldn't be.
Thank you for the question. David Fogerson, Division of Emergency Management, Homeland Security. Absolutely, and it's a joint partnership. And when you look especially at Clark County's resources, and this has been on what we've been talking about at IFC for a few years on and off, they've got every Metro officer either on days or on nights. They go to a 2-shift schedule. They've got all the local agencies that are there supporting them as well, and they brought in extra contractors from the casino industry as well. And so there's just no more resources for them to tap into there. And our rationale for wanting to do this is to protect the tax base and the tourism industry that we do have in the South. They put a lot of emphasis on this from the local government side to make sure that they're fully staffed. There's not a single person in Southern Nevada that works in public safety that's sitting at home on the law enforcement side where the Guard is helping them. And so when they're tapped out on resources, that's when we see the need to step up and help them.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And Assemblywoman Brown-May.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the great presentation. Chief Fogerson, this question is really, I think, for you. In your presentation, you talked about the Nevada Ops Center not being ADA compliant, and I'm happy to take this offline if it is a detailed answer. I'm curious to know, is it about systems or is it about buildings that we're trying to make compliant with the ADA?
Great question, Dave Fogerson, for the record, Nevada Division of Emergency Management, Homeland Security. It's a little bit of both. Part of it is the floor has steps in it, and so it's not capable of people in a wheelchair to get down. There is a wheelchair ramp, but it goes a little steeper than what it should. And then it's an update to the technology, so that way everyone is able to in tune with that.
Thank you very much. All right, seeing no more questions, I will thank you all for your service and your presentation, and we appreciate your time today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, we will go to our last agenda item of the day, public comment. This is the second and last period of public comment on the agenda. As a reminder, due to time considerations, we will limit each person to 2 minutes. Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. To call in to provide testimony, please dial 669-900-6833. When prompted, provide the meeting ID 886-7342-3002 and press pound. When prompted for participant ID, please press pound. I will begin here in Carson City. Do I have anyone for public comment? Seeing none, I will go to Las Vegas. Anyone for public comment? And with that, I will go to BPS. When you're ready, if there's anyone on the line, please go ahead.
Chair, the public line is open and working. However, there are no callers wishing to participate at this time.
Thank you very much. Well, that is our today's agenda for the Legislative Commission's Budget Subcommittee. I want to thank all of those who participated in our meeting today and remind everyone that we have interim finance at 1 p.m. And with that, this meeting will be adjourned.